Good day, lovely viewers. Welcome to Ben 10 What If? We have an exciting story lined up for you today. What if Ben 10 was a UA student in MHA? Your engagement means the world to us. Like, comment, and subscribe to help us grow and bring you more amazing content. Without wasting any time, let's start. Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. The bright green flash faded from Ben Tennyson's eyes as he hit the ground hard, concrete scraping against his palms. His head pounded like someone had used it for batting practice. Ugh, what hit me? Ben groaned, pushing himself to his knees. Vilgax. Dr. Nomu. No answer came. The last thing he remembered was fighting that weird dimension-hopping alien. What was his name? Portaler. Dimension X. Something cheesy like that. The creep had opened some kind of swirling vortex when Ben had gone humongosaur on him. Ben looked around, finding himself in an alley between tall buildings. This didn't look like Bellwood. The architecture was different, signs in Japanese everywhere. Was this Tokyo? He'd been there before on a plumber mission, but this felt different. Great, Ben muttered, checking the Omnitrix. The familiar green hourglass symbol glowed steadily on his wrist. At least that was working. Guess I got transported somewhere. Again. Just another Tuesday for Ben Tennyson. He stood up, dusting off his jeans and adjusting his white and black t-shirt. At 15, he'd been through enough weird stuff to know the drill: find out where you are, find out when you are, find a way home. Walking toward the mouth of the alley, Ben emerged onto a bustling street. People hurried past in business attire and school uniforms, nothing too unusual. Then a woman with bright pink skin walked by. After her, a man with a bull's head in a business suit. A kid zoomed past on rocket-powered feet. Okay, definitely not regular Tokyo, Ben whispered. A news screen on a nearby building showed what looked like a giant woman in a superhero costume stopping a runaway bus. The headline scrolled across in Japanese, which Ben couldn't read, but the footage was clear enough. Superheroes? Like, actual public superheroes? Ben's eyebrows shot up. Man, Gwen would freak out if she saw this. His stomach growled, interrupting his thoughts. No point saving the day, or getting home, on an empty stomach. Ben patted his pockets and found his wallet. He had some cash, but it was all American dollars. Great. Excuse me, he asked a passing schoolgirl with normal features except for antennae protruding from her forehead. Is there anywhere around here that takes American money? She stared at him like he had two heads, which, considering the people walking around, wouldn't have been that weird. Sorry, I don't speak English well, she replied with a thick accent before hurrying away. This is gonna be harder than I thought, Ben sighed. A commotion down the street caught his attention. People were running and screaming, clearing the area. Ben's hero instincts kicked in immediately, and he jogged toward the source of the panic. 3 men stood in front of a shattered storefront. One had metallic skin, another's arms had morphed into what looked like chainsaws, and the third had some kind of smoke billowing from his body. Hurry up with those cash registers. Chainsaw arms barked. The heroes will be here any minute. Ben didn't need a translator for that. Bad guys robbing stores was universal. Looks like I found something familiar after all, Ben said, activating the Omnitrix. The familiar holographic display popped up, showing silhouettes of his alien forms. Let's see, nothing too flashy for my first day in town. He selected XLR8, slammed down on the dial, and felt the rush of transformation. His body morphed and changed in a flash of green light. When it faded, he stood as a blue-skinned, wheel-footed speedster with a black visor. XLR8. Perfect for a quick takedown. Ben zoomed forward, moving so fast the robbers didn't even see him coming. He snatched the bags of money from Chainsaw Guy's grip, disarmed Metal Skin with a rapid series of strikes to pressure points, and created a vortex around Smoke Man that disrupted whatever control he had over his powers. What the? Chainsaw Arms stared at his now empty hands. Looking for these? XLR8 asked, holding up the bags of money before setting them down by the store entrance. You know, where I come from, we have these things called banks. Much better interest rates than smash and grabs. A hero? Metal Skin growled, getting to his feet. Never seen you before. You knew. You could say I'm just passing through, Ben replied. Now, are we doing this the easy way or the fun way? Chainsaw Arms lunged at him. Get the freak. Fun way it is. XLR8 dodged effortlessly, moving with lightning speed. He delivered rapid strikes to Chainsaw Guy, knocking him off balance. Metal Skin charged, but Ben weaved around him, using his momentum against him to send him crashing into a lamppost. Smoke Man expanded his gaseous form, trying to envelop the area. Can't be fast if you can't breathe, hero. Wanna bet? XLR8 spun rapidly, creating a counter-vortex that dispersed the smoke and left the villain gasping on his knees. In less than 30 seconds, all three robbers were groaning on the ground, thoroughly defeated. And that's how we do it in Bellwood, Ben said, dusting off his hands. Though usually I'd have at least one good quip about cutting you down to size for Chainsaw Guy there. The crowd that had gathered stared in awe. Some had their phones out, recording. Ben waved awkwardly, not used to such open attention after years of relatively covert hero work. It's a new hero. What's his quirk? So fast. Like Ingenium but different. Ben didn't understand what they meant by quirk, but he figured it must be what they called superpowers here. Suddenly, a commanding voice cut through the crowd. Stand down and identify yourself. A man in a wooden mask and outfit stepped forward, pointing at Ben. Beside him stood a tall, muscular man in a denim and flame-themed costume. This doesn't concern you, civilian, the wooden hero said. Step away from the villains. Civilian? Me? XLR8 laughed. I just took these guys down. Unregistered quirk use is illegal, the flame hero stated firmly. Vigilantism is a crime, kid. Vigilant, wait, what? Ben was genuinely confused. Since when is stopping bad guys a crime? Since the quirk regulation laws passed, Wooden Mask replied. Now power down before this gets complicated. Ben looked around at the crowd, the fallen robbers, and the approaching heroes. He could easily outrun them as XLR8, but that wouldn't help him figure out where he was or how to get home. Fine, Ben sighed, touching the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. In a flash of green light, he returned to his human form. The crowd gasped. He transformed completely. What kind of quirk is that? Did you see that symbol on his chest? The heroes looked startled but maintained their professional demeanor. Name and hero license number, Wooden Mask demanded. Ben Tennyson. And I don't have a license. Where I come from, we don't need them to help people. The heroes exchanged glances. You'll need to come with us, kid. Am I under arrest for stopping a robbery? Ben asked incredulously. You're under detainment for unauthorized quirk use, the flame hero clarified. The rest will sort out at the station. Ben weighed his options. He could transform again and escape, but that would just make things worse. Better to play along and learn more about this place. Lead the way, Ben sighed, raising his hands in surrender. But I want it noted that this is seriously messed up. The police station was bustling with officers, some normal-looking, others with physical mutations that would have made them stand out anywhere else. Ben sat in an interrogation room, tapping his fingers on the metal table. The door opened, and a tall, thin man with a cat-like face entered, accompanied by a detective in a trench coat. I'm Detective Tsukachi, the normal-looking one introduced himself. This is Officer Sansa. We'd like to ask you some questions, Ben Tennyson. Ask away, Ben replied. Though I'm not sure how much help I'll be. Your ID shows you're from America, but we have no record of you entering Japan, Tsukachi stated. Care to explain? Ben considered lying but decided against it. Would you believe I was fighting a dimension-hopping bad guy and got zapped here through a portal? The detective's eyes widened slightly. Officer Sansa's tail, yes, he had a cat tail, twitched. My quirk lets me detect lies, Tsukachi said calmly. And you're not lying. Wait, seriously? That's convenient, Ben replied. So you believe me? Stranger things have happened, the detective said. Tell me about this device. He pointed to the Omnitrix. Ben hesitated. It's called the Omnitrix. It lets me transform into different aliens. Forms. Back home, I use it to fight bad guys and help people. And where exactly is home? Bellwood, USA. But I think I'm not just in another country. This seems like another dimension altogether. You guys have superheroes everywhere, public and official. We don't have that. Tsukachi nodded slowly. Your transformation ability is remarkable. The heroes reported you changed your entire biological structure, not just an appearance change. That's how it works, Ben confirmed. Each form has different abilities. How many of these forms do you possess? Ben shrugged. Last count. Around 70. But I usually stick to about 10 favorites. The officers exchanged shocked glances. 70 distinct transformation states. Sansa whispered. That would make it perhaps the most versatile quirk ever recorded, Tsukachi added. It's not a quirk, Ben clarified. It's technology. Very advanced alien technology. Before they could respond, the door opened again. A small, animal-like creature with white fur and a scar over one eye entered, wearing a fancy suit. That will be all, Detective, the creature said. Principal Nizu, Tsukachi nodded respectfully. Principal? Ben questioned. I'm the principal of UA High School, Nizu explained, hopping onto a chair across from Ben. The top hero academy in Japan. And you, young man, have caused quite a stir today. Sorry about that, Ben said, not sounding particularly sorry. Where I come from, stopping robberies is just what heroes do. Indeed. And here as well, Nizu nodded. But we have systems in place. Structure. Rules that maintain order in a society where 80% of the population possesses superhuman abilities. Ben's eyes widened. 80%. That's, wow. You truly are from another world, Nizu observed. How fascinating. Tell me, Ben Tennyson, what do you plan to do now that you're here? Find a way home, I guess, Ben replied honestly. Though I have no idea how to even start. Nizu stroked his chin thoughtfully. If interdimensional travel is involved, you may need significant resources and expertise. The kind that isn't easily accessible to a teenager on his own. What are you suggesting? A proposition, Nizu smiled, revealing small but sharp teeth. UA High can provide you with resources, connections to the best scientific minds in our world, and a place to stay while you search for a way home. What's the catch? Ben asked suspiciously. In exchange, you enroll as a student. You learn our world's approach to heroism, follow our rules, and contribute to our society during your stay. Ben considered it. School wasn't exactly his favorite thing, but having allies and resources in this strange world made sense. What about the whole, illegal quirk use, thing? As a UA student under proper supervision, you'll have limited authorization during training and emergencies, Nizu explained. The incident today can be classified as a misunderstanding given your unique circumstances. So I'd be a superhero student? Ben clarified. Precisely. Learning to be a proper hero according to our world standards. Ben drummed his fingers on the table, weighing his options. It wasn't like he had many alternatives. When do I start? 2 days later, Ben stood outside the massive gates of UA High School, wearing a school uniform that felt stiff and uncomfortable compared to his usual t-shirt and jeans. "This place is huge," he muttered. Principal Nizu had arranged temporary housing in student dormitories and provided him with necessary supplies. He'd spent the past 2 days getting crash courses on this world's history, hero society, and the concept of quirks, the genetic superpowers almost everyone possessed. His cover story was that he was an American exchange student with a transformation quirk. The full truth was known only to Principal Nizu, a few select teachers, and the authorities involved in his case. Ben took a deep breath and walked through the gates. A tall, scraggly-looking man with long black hair and what appeared to be a scarf wrapped around his neck waited for him. "Ben Tennyson," the man stated flatly. "I'm Shota Aizawa. Your homeroom teacher." "Nice to meet you," Ben offered his hand. Aizawa ignored it. "Let me be clear. I don't care what dimension you're from or how powerful your device is. In my class, you follow the rules like everyone else." "Got it," Ben replied, dropping his hand. "No special treatment. The principal seems to think you have potential. I reserve judgment." Aizawa turned. "Follow me. Class starts in 10 minutes, and I hate wasting time." They walked through the impressive halls of UA. Ben noticed how different it was from his high school back home: reinforced walls, specialized training areas visible through some windows, and students casually displaying mutations or abilities that would have been headline news in his world. "This is Class 1A, Aizawa said, stopping outside a massive door. "Your new classmates. They've been told you're a transfer student from America with a transformation quirk. The details of your unique situation remain classified." "Why not tell them the truth?" Ben asked. "Because teenagers gossip, information leaks, and having an interdimensional visitor with potentially unlimited power would attract the wrong kind of attention," Aizawa replied bluntly. "Just try not to stand out more than necessary." "Me? Stand out?" Ben grinned. "Never." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "That's exactly the attitude I was afraid of." He slid open the door. "Wait here." The classroom fell silent as Aizawa entered. Ben caught glimpses of students, a diverse group with various physical traits. One girl was literally pink. Another student appeared to have a bird's head. "We have a new student joining us today," Aizawa announced flatly. "An exchange student from America. Try not to make a scene." He gestured for Ben to enter. Taking a deep breath, Ben stepped into the classroom, facing 20 pairs of curious eyes. Hey," Ben waved casually. "I'm Ben Tennyson. Nice to meet you all." The class stared for a moment before erupting into excited chatter. "An American. What's your quirk? Is it true Americans can own cars at 16? A girl with pink skin and horns practically bounced in her seat. "Are you the one from the viral video? The blue speedster who took down those robbers? So much for not standing out." "That's enough," Aizawa silenced them. "Tennyson, take the empty seat next to Midoriya." A green-haired boy raised his hand slightly, indicating the vacant desk beside him. Ben walked over and sat down, feeling the stares of his new classmates. "Hi," the green-haired boy whispered. "I'm Izuku Midoriya. Welcome to UA." "Thanks," Ben replied. "Nice to meet you." "I saw that video," Midoriya continued excitedly. "Your transformation was amazing. The speed capabilities seemed similar to Ingenium's but with enhanced agility parameters and," Midoriya, Aizawa interrupted. "Save the quirk analysis for lunch break." Sorry, Mr. Aizawa." Ben smiled despite himself. This kid reminded him a bit of his cousin Gwen, that same analytical energy. "Now, today we'll be continuing rescue training," Aizawa announced. "Get changed into your hero costumes and meet at Training Ground Beta in 15 minutes. The class stood and began filing out. Ben sat there, realizing he had no hero costume. Mr. Aizawa, he called. I don't have there's a temporary gym uniform in your locker, Aizawa replied without looking up from his papers. Your measurements were taken during processing. A proper costume will be provided once you submit designs to the support department. Right. Thanks. As Ben followed the others to the changing rooms, a spiky blonde-haired boy deliberately bumped shoulders with him. Don't think you're hot stuff just because of some viral video, American, the boy growled. I saw that footage. Flashy moves, no substance. And you are? Ben asked, unimpressed. Katsuki Bakugo. Remember it, because it's the name that'll be #1 hero. Ben had dealt with enough bullies to recognize the type. Nice to meet you too, Katsuki. It's Bakugo to you, the boy snapped before stalking off. Don't mind him, a red-haired boy said, approaching Ben. Bakugo's like that with everyone. I'm Eijiro Kirishima, by the way. Ben Tennyson. They shook hands. So that transformation quirk, is it just the one form or? Kirishima asked eagerly. Multiple, Ben replied, careful not to reveal too much. The blue speedster is just one of them. That's so manly. Kirishima's teeth seemed unnaturally sharp when he grinned. Can't wait to see more in training. Training Ground Beta turned out to be an enormous facility designed to simulate urban rescue scenarios. Collapsed buildings, fires, flood zones, all artificially created for training purposes. Ben stood with the other students, now dressed in a blue tracksuit with the UA logo while the others wore personalized costumes. Aizawa stood before them alongside a space-suited hero Ben didn't recognize. Today's training will focus on rescue operations during multiple simultaneous disasters, Aizawa explained. This is 13, a rescue specialist who will oversee the exercise. The space-suited hero stepped forward. Rescue work is often overlooked in favor of flashier combat, but it's the heart of heroism. Today you'll face scenarios requiring quick thinking and careful quirk application to save lives without causing further damage. Ben listened intently. This was different from his usual approach to heroics, which often involved punching the bad guy until the problem went away. You'll be divided into teams of 4, Aizawa continued. Each team will handle a different disaster zone. Your objective is to rescue all civilian dummies while minimizing property damage and risk to yourselves. Teams were quickly assigned. Ben found himself grouped with Midoriya, a girl named Uraraka with rosy cheeks, and a serious-looking boy with engines in his legs named Ida. We're assigned to the landslide zone, Ida announced, adjusting his glasses. We should strategize based on our quirks. I have engines in my legs for speed, Uraraka can nullify gravity on objects she touches, and Midoriya has enhanced strength. Tennyson, what forms can your transformation quirk take that might be useful? Ben considered his options. I've got several that could help. One with super strength, one that can fly, one that can dig through earth. Fascinating versatility, Ida noted. With proper coordination, we can effectively cover all aspects of the rescue operation. Their team headed to the landslide zone, a section of the facility where artificial rubble and debris simulated the aftermath of an earthquake or landslide. Rubber dummies representing civilians were partially visible under rocks and inside damaged structures. Let's establish a plan, Ida said authoritatively. Uraraka can reduce the weight of larger debris, I can quickly transport civilians to the safe zone, Midoriya has the strength to move obstacles, and Tennyson. He looked at Ben expectantly. I'll handle search and excavation, Ben replied, activating the Omnitrix. I've got just the alien, form, for this. Ben selected Wild Mud on the Omnitrix's display and slammed down the dial. In a flash of green light, his body transformed into a large, orange, dog-like creature with no eyes but multiple gill-like nostrils on his neck. The others gasped. Whoa! Uraraka exclaimed. He turned into some kind of dog monster. Fascinating. Midoriya was already scribbling notes. A sensory-type transformation with enhanced olfactory capabilities, judging by those gill structures. Possibly infrared sensing as well, given the lack of visible eyes. Wildmutt growled affirmatively, tapping his nose with a clawed paw. Can you understand us? Ida asked cautiously. Ben nodded his large head. This form couldn't speak, but his senses were perfect for finding people trapped under rubble. Then let's begin the operation, Ida announced. Tennyson will locate victims, Midoriya and I will clear debris, and Uraraka will lighten and remove larger obstacles. Wildmutt immediately bounded forward, using his enhanced senses to detect the heat signatures and scent of the practice dummies. He quickly located one buried under a pile of concrete chunks. He barked to alert the others, then began carefully digging around the dummy. I've got it. Uraraka rushed over, touching the larger pieces of debris, which immediately began floating. Midoriya, can you pull the dummy out while I hold these up? Right. Midoriya carefully extracted the dummy while Ida stood ready to transport it to the safe zone. They worked seamlessly as a team, with Wildmutt locating victims, Uraraka making heavy debris weightless, Midoriya carefully extracting trapped civilians, and Ida speeding them to safety. After successfully rescuing 3 dummies, Ben decided to switch forms for a different approach. He touched the Omnitrix symbol on his shoulder and transformed in a flash of green light. This time, he became a blue, moth-like alien with large wings and a ghostly appearance. Big chill, Ben announced in a raspy voice. This form can phase through solid matter and freeze things. You can change between multiple forms. Midoriya's eyes were wide with excitement. That's incredible. The versatility applications are endless. That's so cool. Uraraka exclaimed. Focus, everyone, Ida reminded them. We still have civilians to rescue. Big Chill flew up for an aerial view of the disaster zone. I see 2 more trapped in that partially collapsed building. The structure looks unstable. Can you phase through and get them out? Ida asked. No problem. Big Chill flew toward the building, his body becoming intangible as he passed through walls and debris. Inside, he found 2 dummies pinned under a collapsed support beam. He carefully phased them out one by one, carrying them through the solid walls to safety. Amazing! Midoriya couldn't contain his excitement. Your quirk allows for completely different power sets with each transformation. That's me, Ben said after changing back to human form. Full of surprises. Their team finished the exercise first, successfully rescuing all dummies without causing additional damage to the structures. Well executed, Aizawa commented as they regrouped with the other teams. Tennyson, your transformations were effectively utilized, but work on communication. The others shouldn't have to guess your capabilities. Fair point, Ben admitted. Midoriya, good support work. Uraraka, excellent quirk application. Ida, solid leadership. Aizawa moved on to critique the other teams. Ben felt a small sense of pride. Maybe this superhero school thing wouldn't be so bad after all. During lunch in the massive cafeteria, Ben found himself surrounded by curious classmates peppering him with questions. How many forms can you transform into? Asked a girl with earphone jacks dangling from her earlobes. What's America like? Questioned a boy with spiky red hair. Is it true you took down those robbers on your first day in Japan? A girl with pink skin and horns leaned in eagerly. Ben tried to answer without revealing too much. I've got several transformations. America's pretty normal, I guess. And yeah, that was me with the robbers. Just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Your quirk is quite versatile, commented a girl with a spiky ponytail. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu, the class vice representative. Your transformations seem to grant completely different ability sets rather than variations of a single power. Yeah, each form has its own strengths and weaknesses, Ben explained, taking a bite of rice. The food here was actually pretty good. Midoriya sat nearby, furiously scribbling in a notebook. The dog-like form appeared to have enhanced senses but limited communication capabilities, while the moth entity demonstrated phase-shifting and cryokinetic abilities. The speedster form from the video exhibited velocity comparable to professional heroes like Ingenium. Does he always do that? Ben whispered to Uraraka, who sat beside him. She giggled. Deku's been analyzing quirks since he was little. He's probably already started a whole section on you. Deku? That's my nickname, Midoriya explained, looking up from his notebook. My name, Izuku, can be read as Deku in a different way. It used to be an insult, but I've reclaimed it. Ben nodded. I get that. Own your identity, right? From across the cafeteria, Ben noticed Bakugo glaring at him while aggressively eating his food. What's his problem? Ben asked. Bakugo's always been the best at everything, Uraraka explained. When someone new shows up with impressive abilities, he sees it as a challenge, Kirishima finished. Nothing personal. He's actually a really good guy once you get to know him. If you say so, Ben replied skeptically. Their conversation was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the cafeteria. Attention all students, a voice announced over the PA system. A level 3 security breach has been detected. Please evacuate in an orderly fashion. The cafeteria erupted into chaos as students jumped up and rushed toward the exits. What's a level 3 breach? Ben asked, standing up. Someone's infiltrated the school grounds. Ida explained, already moving toward the exit. This is serious, UA's security is supposed to be impenetrable. Students pushed and shoved in their panic to reach the hallways. Ben found himself separated from his classmates in the crush of bodies. This is getting out of hand, Ben muttered, pushing his way to a window. Looking out, he spotted reporters at the main gate, not villains, just media. It's just journalists. Everyone's panicking over nothing. No one heard him over the commotion. Ben needed to get everyone's attention. He activated the Omnitrix, selecting Echo Echo, and slammed down the dial. The green flash transformed him into a small, white silicon-based alien with a mouth-like speaker on his face. Everyone stop. Ben shouted, his voice amplified to incredible levels by Echo Echo's sonic powers. The sound reverberated through the cafeteria, stopping students in their tracks as they covered their ears. In the sudden silence, Ben continued at a lower volume. It's just reporters at the front gate. Look outside if you don't believe me. There's no danger. Students cautiously moved to the windows, confirming Ben's statement. The panic gradually subsided, replaced by embarrassed murmurs. Well, that's one way to handle crowd control, Aizawa commented dryly, appearing beside Echo Echo. Though perhaps a bit excessive on the decibel level, Tennyson. Ben changed back to human form with a flash of green light. Sorry about that. It seemed like the fastest way to stop a stampede. Aizawa studied him with those tired eyes. Quick thinking. But next time, try to find a solution that doesn't risk bursting everyone's eardrums. Noted, Ben replied. As the students calmed down and began returning to their seats, Ben noticed Midoriya staring at him with wide, analytical eyes. That was amazing. Midoriya exclaimed. A sound amplification form with sonic projection capabilities. The physical structure appeared silicon-based rather than organic, suggesting possible resistance to conventional damage. Was there a duplicating function as well? The physiological structure hints at, dude, Ben interrupted with a laugh. Do you ever take a break from analyzing? Midoriya blushed. Sorry. I just find quirks fascinating, especially versatile ones like yours. It's cool, Ben assured him. Reminds me of my cousin. She's always been the analytical one in our family. As they returned to their table, Ben noticed several students looking at him with newfound respect, and Bakugo looking even more irritated than before. After classes ended, Ben found himself walking alongside Midoriya, Uraraka, and Ida toward the dorms. "So you're staying in the foreign exchange dorms?" Midoriya asked. "Yeah, just until other arrangements can be made," Ben replied carefully. He couldn't exactly say, "until I find a way back to my dimension." "That must be difficult, being so far from home," Uraraka said sympathetically. Ben shrugged. "I'm used to it. I've traveled a lot." "Your quirk is truly remarkable," Ida commented. "The variety of transformations you displayed today would typically require years of training to master, yet you switch between them effortlessly." "I've had practice," Ben replied, unconsciously touching the Omnitrix. "Been doing this since I was 10. 10 years old." Midoriya exclaimed. "That's incredibly young to manifest such a complex quirk." Ben realized his slip-up. Yeah. Early bloomer, I guess." "Your control is impressive," Ida noted. "Many students with powerful quirks struggle with precise application, yet you seem to utilize each form's capabilities strategically." "Like I said, lots of practice," Ben repeated. They reached the fork in the path where Ben would head to the foreign exchange dorms while the others continued to the main dormitory. "Hey, some of us are having a study session tonight in the common area," Uraraka offered. "You should join us." "Thanks, but I've got some personal research to do," Ben declined. In truth, he planned to experiment with the Omnitrix to see if any of his alien forms might help him contact his own dimension. Of course, Ida nodded understandingly. Adjusting to a new school and country must require significant preparation. "Perhaps another time." "Definitely," Ben agreed. "See you guys tomorrow." As they parted ways, Ben felt a mix of emotions. These seemed like good people, the kind he could genuinely be friends with under different circumstances. But his priority had to be finding a way home. The foreign exchange dorm was smaller than the main dormitory but comfortable enough. Ben had a single room to himself, which suited him fine. Principal Nizu had provided him with a laptop and access to UA's scientific databases, though most of the advanced physics information was in Japanese. "Time to see if gray matter can make sense of this," Ben muttered, activating the Omnitrix. He selected the small, gray alien form and transformed. Gray matter sat cross-legged on the desk, his highly advanced brain quickly processing the information on the screen despite the language barrier. "Fascinating," he muttered in his high-pitched voice. "This world's understanding of quantum mechanics is both similar and different from my dimension. They've theorized about the multiverse but haven't successfully navigated it." After 2 hours of research, Ben changed back, rubbing his now human eyes tiredly. Gray matter's intelligence didn't carry over, but he remembered the conclusions: interdimensional travel wasn't currently possible with this world's technology. His best bet would be finding someone from his own dimension who had crossed over, likely the villain who had sent him here in the first place. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Ben opened it to find Principal Nizu standing there. "Good evening, Mr. Tennyson," Nizu greeted cheerfully. "May I come in?" Sure," Ben stepped aside. Nizu hopped onto the desk chair. "I wanted to check on your first day. I hear you made quite the impression during rescue training." "Just doing what I do," Ben replied with a shrug. "And during the false alarm in the cafeteria," Nizu continued. "Quick thinking, using your transformation to restore order. It seemed like the right call at the time." Nizu studied him with intelligent eyes. "You've been researching dimensional physics." Ben glanced at the laptop. "Trying to find a way home." "Understandable," Nizu nodded. "However, I should inform you of something concerning. Our intelligence agencies have detected unusual energy signatures in the city, similar to the residual energy found around you when you first arrived." Ben sat up straighter. "You think whoever sent me here might be in this world too?" "It's possible," Nizu confirmed. "Which is why I encourage you to continue your studies at UA while we investigate. If dimensional travelers can move between worlds at will, we may be dealing with a significant threat." I should be out there looking for them, Ben argued. With no knowledge of our city, our villains, or our laws. Nizu countered gently. You're remarkable, Ben Tennyson, but rushing blindly into danger helps no one. Work with us. Learn about our world. And when the time comes, you'll be better prepared to face whatever brought you here. Ben wanted to argue, but Nizu's logic was sound. Fine. But I want to be kept in the loop about any interdimensional energy signatures you detect. Fair enough, Nizu agreed. Now, get some rest. Tomorrow's hero basic training with All Might. I have a feeling you'll want to be at your best. After Nizu left, Ben flopped onto his bed, staring at the ceiling. So the dimension-hopping villain might be here too. That complicated things. If they had allies in this world, like those League of Villains people the police had mentioned. One problem at a time, Tennyson, he muttered to himself. First, learn the rules of this world. Then figure out who sent you here and why. He closed his eyes, mentally cycling through his alien roster, wondering which ones would impress this All Might person tomorrow. Despite everything, a small part of him was actually looking forward to it. The next morning, Ben joined Class 1A for their hero basic training. The classroom buzzed with excitement. All Might's teaching today. Kirishima exclaimed. I wonder what awesome training he has planned. Probably something super manly, a boy with a bizarre-looking head, Mineta, Ben recalled, added. Who's All Might? Ben asked Midoriya, who sat beside him. Midoriya's jaw dropped. You don't know All Might? He's only the greatest hero ever. The symbol of peace. The pillar that holds up hero society. Sorry, not familiar with Japanese heroes, Ben replied. But All Might is known worldwide. Midoriya continued, aghast. He's saved thousands of people, defeats villains with a single punch, and always does it with a smile. Before Midoriya could continue his fanboy explanation, the classroom door burst open dramatically. I am here. Coming through the door like a normal person. A massive man with an impossibly muscular physique, blonde hair with two distinctive spikes, and a grin that seemed permanently etched on his face entered the room. He wore a colorful red, blue, and yellow costume that looked straight out of a comic book. Whoa, Ben whispered. This guy made Humongousaur look understated. Good morning, young heroes in training. All Might boomed. Today, we'll be conducting combat training. The best way to learn heroics is through experience. The class cheered enthusiastically. You'll be using your hero costumes for this exercise, All Might continued, pressing a button that caused compartments to slide out from the wall, each containing a numbered case. For our new student, we've prepared a temporary outfit based on your specifications. Ben walked up to retrieve case 21. Inside was a simple black bodysuit with green accents that matched the Omnitrix's color. The design left his left wrist exposed for easy access to the device. The support department worked overtime to create something functional yet adaptable to your various transformations, All Might explained. Of course, your specialized costume is still being designed. Thanks, Ben said, genuinely appreciative. This will work great. After changing into their costumes, the class assembled at Training Ground Gamma, an industrial area filled with pipes, factories, and metal structures. Today's exercise is simple. All Might announced. Search and incapacitate. You'll be divided into heroes and villains. The villains will hide throughout the training ground while heroes search for and capture them. Villains win by evading capture for 15 minutes or incapacitating the heroes. Heroes win by capturing all villains before time expires. The class was divided, with Ben ending up on the hero team alongside Midoriya, Todoroki, a boy with half-red, half-white hair, and Yaoyorozu. We should establish a strategy, Yaoyorozu suggested. Between Todoroki's ice and fire, Midoriya's strength, and my creation abilities, we can cover significant ground. What about you, Tennyson? Todoroki asked, his mismatched eyes studying Ben. What transformations would be most useful here? Ben considered the industrial terrain. I've got a tracking form with enhanced senses, a flying form for aerial reconnaissance, and several combat options depending on who we're up against. Excellent, Yaoyorozu nodded. Todoroki and Midoriya can form our main assault team. I'll provide tactical support and equipment. Tennyson, can you locate the villains from above? No problem. Ben activated the Omnitrix and transformed into Jet Ray, a red, manta ray-like alien with the ability to fly at incredible speeds. Aerial reconnaissance, coming up. Jet Ray announced, taking to the air with a powerful leap. From above, the training ground sprawled out like a maze. Ben's enhanced vision scanned the area, quickly spotting movement among the pipes. Bakugo's distinctive spiky hair was visible as he crouched behind a large tank. Nearby, the bird-headed student, Tokoyami, Ben recalled, concealed himself in shadows, while the girl with earphone jacks, Jiro, pressed her unique appendages against metal pipes, apparently listening for approaching enemies. Jet Ray swooped back down to his team. Found them. Bakugo's hiding behind the north storage tanks. Tokoyami's in the shadow of the eastern factory building. Jiro's using her ear things to monitor the central pipeline. Excellent work, Yaoyorozu praised. Now we can coordinate our approach. Todoroki, can you create an ice path to the northern section? We'll flank Bakugo first, as he's likely the most combative. Wait, Midoriya cautioned. If Jiro is listening through the pipes, she'll hear us coming no matter which way we approach. She's probably already alerted the others. As if on cue, an explosion erupted from the northern section, and Bakugo rocketed into the air, propelled by blasts from his palms. Found you, extras, he shouted, diving toward them. Scatter. Yaoyorozu ordered. The team dispersed as Bakugo landed with an explosive impact where they had been standing. So much for the element of surprise, Ben commented, still in Jet Ray form. I'll keep him busy. Ben zoomed toward Bakugo, firing neuroshock blasts from his tail and eyes. Bakugo dodged with surprising agility, retaliating with explosions from his palms. So the American can fly now? Bakugo sneered. Flashy as always. Says the guy making explosions, Ben retorted, swooping and diving to avoid Bakugo's attacks. Meanwhile, Todoroki created a massive ice wall, separating the battlefield and trapping Tokoyami on the other side. Midoriya and Yaoyorozu moved to intercept Jiro. Ben continued his aerial duel with Bakugo, impressed by the explosive student's combat skills. Despite the flashy nature of his powers, Bakugo had precision and tactical awareness that made him formidable. You're holding back. Bakugo accused, launching himself higher with a powerful blast. Think you're too good for us, American. Just trying not to hurt you, Ben replied, dodging another explosion. In truth, he was being cautious. Jet Ray's neuroshock blasts could cause serious damage if not controlled. Don't mock me. Bakugo roared, unleashing a particularly large explosion that caught Ben off guard, singing Jet Ray's wing. Okay, time for a change of pace, Ben muttered, touching the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. In a flash of green light, he transformed into Diamond Head, a crystalline humanoid made of impenetrable diamond-like material. As Ben fell toward the ground, his crystalline body glinting in the sunlight, he saw Bakugo's eyes widen in surprise. Another transformation? Bakugo growled. How many do you have? Diamond Head landed with a heavy thud, creating small cracks in the concrete. Enough to keep things interesting. Bakugo launched another explosion directly at Ben, who simply crossed his arms in front of his face. The blast washed over his diamond body harmlessly. My turn, Ben announced, thrusting his hands forward. Crystal shards shot from his fingertips, precisely aimed to pin Bakugo's costume to the wall behind him without causing injury. Bakugo tried to dodge but found himself partially immobilized, his right arm and leg secured to the metal structure by crystal restraints. You think this can hold me? Bakugo roared, using his free hand to create explosions against the crystals. Actually, yeah, Ben replied calmly. Those are harder than diamonds. But keep trying if it makes you feel better. Leaving Bakugo to struggle against his restraints, Ben turned to help his teammates. Todoroki had successfully captured Tokoyami using his ice powers, freezing the bird-headed student up to his neck. Midoriya and Yaoyorozu were still pursuing Jiro through the maze of pipes. Ben transformed back into Jetray and took to the air again, quickly spotting Jiro ducking between storage tanks. He swooped down, herding her toward where Midoriya waited. She's coming your way. Ben called out. Midoriya nodded, positioning himself at the end of the corridor. As Jiro emerged, he moved with impressive speed, careful to modulate his strength as he grappled her into a hold. Captured. All Might's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. All villains have been apprehended. Hero team wins. Ben landed beside his teammates, changing back to human form as All Might and the remaining students approached. Excellent teamwork, young heroes. All Might praised. Young Tennyson, your transformations provided the team with crucial reconnaissance and combat versatility. Thanks, Ben replied. But everyone did their part. Yaoyorozu's strategy was spot on. Bakugo, now freed from the crystal restraints, stormed up to Ben. Next time, fight me seriously. I don't need you holding back. Ben met his glare evenly. I wasn't holding back. I was being smart. There's a difference. Gur. Bakugo seemed ready to explode again before All Might placed a massive hand on his shoulder. Channel that fighting spirit into improvement, young Bakugo. All Might advised. Young Tennyson's approach demonstrated that victory isn't always about who hits hardest. As they returned to change out of their costumes, Midoriya fell into step beside Ben. That crystal form was amazing, he commented. Complete immunity to Bakugo's explosions, plus projectile and restraint capabilities. Diamond Head's one of my favorites, Ben admitted. Versatile and nearly indestructible. Your your quirk is truly incredible, Midoriya continued. The way you adapt to different situations, it's like having multiple quirks in one. Ben just nodded, uncomfortable with the praise. In his world, the Omnitrix was designed to foster understanding between different species by literally allowing the user to walk in another being's shoes. Here, it was seen as just a superpower, albeit a versatile one. After changing back into their school uniforms, the class headed to their next lesson. As Ben walked through the hallway, he noticed Todoroki watching him with a calculating expression. Something on your mind? Ben asked. Your power, Todoroki replied bluntly. It's unusual. Even for a transformation-type quirk. I get that a lot, Ben shrugged. The way you use it. Todoroki continued. You're experienced. Not like someone who just enrolled in hero training. Ben tensed. Todoroki was perceptive. I've had my abilities for a while. Used them back home too. Todoroki's mismatched eyes, one turquoise, one gray, studied him for a moment longer. Whatever your story is, it's more complicated than exchange student from America. Before Ben could respond, Todoroki walked away, leaving Ben to wonder just how long his cover story would hold up among these observant hero students. That evening, Ben sat in a common area of the exchange dorms, absently flipping through a Japanese hero magazine. He couldn't read most of the text, but the pictures provided some insight into this world's hero culture. All Might featured prominently, his larger-than-life presence dominating several pages. Studying up on our heroes? Ben looked up to see a tall, thin man with sunken eyes and messy blonde hair. He didn't recognize him from the UA staff. Just trying to get familiar with the local scene, Ben replied cautiously. The man sat in the chair opposite him. I heard we had an interdimensional visitor. You're not what I expected. Ben immediately tensed, ready to activate the Omnitrix. Who are you? Relax, kid. Nizu told me about your situation. The man extended a bony hand. Toshinori Yagi. I work at UA. Ben shook his hand, still suspicious. You don't look like a teacher. I'm All Might's secretary, Yagi explained. Among other things. All Might needs a secretary. Yagi chuckled. The symbol of peace generates more paperwork than you'd think. Ben relaxed slightly but remained alert. Did Nizu send you to check on me? Partially, Yagi admitted. But I was also curious. We don't get many visitors from other dimensions. I'm not here by choice, Ben clarified. Once I find the guy who sent me here, I'm going home. Yagi nodded thoughtfully. That's understandable. But while you're here. He leaned forward. What do you think of our world? Our hero society? Ben considered the question. It's different. Where I come from, heroes operate mostly in secret. The public doesn't know about aliens or most of the threats we face. Here, it's all commercialized. Heroes with fan clubs and merchandise. Does that bother you? Yagi asked. I don't know, Ben admitted. Part of me thinks it's weird to get famous for helping people, that should just be what heroes do. But another part. He shrugged. Another part thinks it's kind of cool that heroes get recognition here. An interesting perspective, Yagi nodded. Our system isn't perfect. By professionalizing heroism, we've created jobs and structure, but we've also commercialized good deeds, as you noted. Why are you asking me this? Ben questioned. Yagi's sunken eyes held a surprising intensity. Because sometimes an outsider sees things clearly that those of us within the system have grown blind to. Before Ben could respond, alarms blared throughout the building, not the security breach alarm from earlier, but something more urgent. Villain attack alert, Yagi explained, suddenly serious. The system notifies all pro-heroes and heroes in training when a major incident occurs nearby. Ben was already on his feet. Where? Downtown Mizudafu, according to the alert, Yagi replied, checking his phone. But you should stay here. The professionals will handle it. No offense, but sitting back while people need help isn't really my style, Ben replied, already heading for the door. Tennyson. Yagi called after him. This isn't your world. You don't know what you're walking into. Ben paused at the doorway. Maybe not. But I know what the Omnitrix is for, helping people, no matter what dimension I'm in. Before Yagi could protest further, Ben dashed out of the building. Once outside, he activated the Omnitrix and transformed into XLR-8. In a blur of motion, he raced toward downtown Mizudafu, following the sounds of chaos and the plumes of smoke rising in the distance. Within seconds, he arrived at a scene of destruction. A portion of the shopping district was in ruins, buildings collapsing and fires spreading. Police had established a perimeter, and several heroes were already engaged in rescue operations and fighting. XLR-8 skidded to a stop beside a police barricade. What happened here? The officer looked startled by his sudden appearance. Wait, you're that speedster from the viral video. The UA student. That's me, Ben confirmed. What's the situation? Some kind of villain attack, the officer explained. Multiple perpetrators with destructive quirks. The pros are handling it, but a massive explosion interrupted him as another building collapsed. Through the smoke and debris, Ben caught a glimpse of something familiar, a swirling purple-black portal, similar to the one that had brought him to this world. That's no ordinary villain, Ben muttered, his suspicions confirmed. Officer, I need to get in there. No way, kid. This is too dangerous for students, the officer protested. But Ben was already gone, a blur of motion as XLR-8 dashed past the barricade and into the disaster zone. He weaved through debris and flames, searching for the source of that portal. Several pro-heroes were engaged with what looked like ordinary villains, criminals with various quirks causing havoc and destruction. But Ben's attention was fixed on finding that portal again. He spotted it briefly between collapsed buildings, a swirling vortex of energy. As he approached, a figure emerged from it. The being was humanoid but clearly alien, with purple crystalline skin and multiple arms. Ben recognized the species immediately, a Petrosapian, like his diamond head form, but with a different coloration. "Found you," Ben muttered, skidding to a stop and transforming back to human form before the alien noticed him. The crystalline being surveyed the destruction with apparent satisfaction before speaking into a device on its wrist. Phase 1 complete. The dimensional breach is stable. Proceed with extraction of the target technology. Ben stepped out from behind a fallen concrete slab. "Looking for this?" he called out, holding up his wrist to display the Omnitrix. The alien turned, its crystalline face showing surprise before settling into a smirk. "Ben Tennyson. How convenient. I expected to have to hunt you down." "You know me, but I don't know you," Ben replied, keeping his distance. "Care to introduce yourself before I kick your sparkly butt back to whatever dimension you came from?" "My name is Tetrax," the alien replied. "Not that it matters to you. All that matters is the Omnitrix." Ben's eyes narrowed. "Another bounty hunter after the watch. Don't you guys ever learn?" "Not a bounty hunter," Tetrax corrected. "A collector. This universe has no Galvan technology, no Omnitrix of its own. Do you realize how valuable the only one in existence would be here?" "Sorry, not for sale," Ben replied, activating the Omnitrix. "And definitely not up for stealing." "I wasn't asking permission." Tetrax raised his crystalline arm, which morphed into a sharp blade. Ben selected Diamond Head from the Omnitrix display. "Let's see how you like fighting fire with fire." He slammed down the dial, transforming into his own crystalline form. Diamond Head faced off against Tetrax, two beings of the same species squaring up amidst the destruction. "Ah, my own form," Tetrax nodded approvingly. "But experience trumps imitation, boy." Tetrax launched crystal shards with incredible precision. Ben deflected most with his arms but was forced backward by the barrage. "I've been a Petrosapian my whole life," Tetrax continued, advancing. "You've been one for what? A few minutes at a time?" Ben had to admit, Tetrax's control over his crystalline body exceeded his own. The alien could morph his arms into complex weapons and tools with a fluidity Ben hadn't mastered. "Maybe," Ben grunted, forming a crystal shield to block another attack. "But I've got something you don't." "And what's that?" Tetrax asked condescendingly. "Options." Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming again in a flash of green light. This time, he became Heat Blast, a being made of living magma with flames erupting from his head and shoulders. "Let's see how your crystals handle a little heat." Ben shouted, unleashing a torrent of flames directly at Tetrax. The crystalline alien backed away, his body cracking slightly from the thermal shock. "Impressive adaptability," he acknowledged. "But futile." Tetrax tapped a device on his belt, and the swirling portal expanded behind him. "We'll continue this another time, Tennyson. Once I've gathered the appropriate countermeasures for your various forms." "Oh no you don't." Ben launched himself forward, flames propelling him like rockets. But Tetrax was already stepping backward into the portal. "This world has much to offer a being with vision, Tennyson. Stay and enjoy it while you can. I'll be back for the Omnitrix soon enough." The portal collapsed just as Ben reached it, his fiery fist meeting nothing but empty air. "Darn it!" Ben shouted, flames intensifying with his frustration. "Halt, villain." Ben turned to see several pro-heroes approaching cautiously, ready for combat. They saw only a fiery being standing amidst destruction, not recognizing him as the UA student. "Wait, I'm not," Ben began. Hands in the air, commanded a hero in a water-themed costume. Surrender now. Seriously? Ben sighed. I'm with UA. I was fighting the actual villain. The heroes didn't look convinced. One was preparing what looked like a water attack, potentially devastating to Heat Blast's flame-based form. Before things could escalate, a booming voice interrupted. Wait. This young man is a UA student. All Might landed between Ben and the other heroes, his massive frame creating a gust of wind on impact. All Might, the water hero exclaimed. But he was at the center of the destruction. Because he was fighting the true perpetrator, All Might explained. I witnessed the exchange from a distance. Ben changed back to human form, the green flash temporarily blinding the assembled heroes. Thanks for the save. All Might turned to him, his permanent smile somehow conveying seriousness. Young Tennyson, while your intentions were heroic, rushing into danger without authorization, yeah, I know, Ben interrupted. Against the rules. But that crystal guy, Tetrax, he's from my dimension. He's the reason I'm here, and he's planning something bigger. All Might's expression shifted slightly. We should discuss this somewhere more private. For now, help with the rescue operation since you're already here. We'll sort out the unauthorized heroics later. Ben nodded, selecting Big Chill from the Omnitrix. After transforming into the moth-like alien, he flew toward a burning building where civilians might be trapped. As he phased through walls to search for survivors, Ben's mind raced. Tetrax wasn't just some random alien, he was deliberately collecting technology from different dimensions. And whatever his plans were for this world, they couldn't be good. For the first time since arriving, Ben felt a responsibility beyond just getting home. This world, with its organized heroes, its structured society, its hopeful students training to protect others, was in danger because of something from his dimension. Which meant, like it or not, protecting it was now his responsibility too. Chapter 2, Trial by Fire. Ben slammed his hand down on the alarm clock, silencing its persistent beep. 5 days at UA, and mornings weren't getting any easier. His body still operated on Bellwood time, and the dorm bed felt wrong, too firm, too unfamiliar. Up and at Tennyson, he muttered, dragging himself to his feet. The events from the shopping district attack played on repeat in his mind. Tetrax. A Petrosapian collector hunting the Omnitrix. And worst of all, the ability to create dimensional portals at will. After helping with rescue operations, Ben had been debriefed by Principal Nizu, All Might, and a stern police officer named Tsurigami who happened to have a dog's head. They'd listened to Ben's explanation about Tetrax, asked detailed questions about dimensional technology, then essentially told him to leave it to the professionals. Fat chance of that happening. Ben splashed cold water on his face and stared at his reflection. Hang in there, Gwen, Grandpa. I'm gonna find a way home. He grabbed his uniform and headed out, only to nearly collide with Midoriya in the hallway between the regular and exchange dorms. Tennyson. Morning. Midoriya greeted with way too much enthusiasm for 7 a.m. I heard you were involved in the villain attack downtown. Are you okay? News traveled fast at UA. Yeah, I'm fine. Just in the wrong place at the right time, I guess. That's so heroic though. Rushing to help even outside of class. Midoriya's eyes practically sparkled. What kind of villain was it? The news reports mentioned crystal structures left at the scene. Was that from your transformation or the villain? Both, actually. Ben started walking toward the main building, Midoriya falling into step beside him. The guy could manipulate crystals. I matched him with one of my forms. Fascinating. A quirk versus quirk symmetrical confrontation creates unique tactical challenges. Did you, Deku? Ben. Uraraka's voice called from behind. She jogged to catch up, pink-cheeked and smiling. Heading to class together. Morning, Uraraka, Ben nodded. We were just discussing Tennyson's involvement in yesterday's villain incident. Midoriya explained. Uraraka's eyes widened. You were there. That's amazing. And kind of scary. Are you okay? I'm fine, Ben assured her. It wasn't my first rodeo. Your first what? She asked, confused by the idiom. Sorry, American expression. Just meant I've handled tough situations before. You must have had extensive training in America, Ida remarked, suddenly appearing and chopping his arms robotically as he spoke. Though I must note that unsanctioned quirk usage, even in emergencies, is technically a violation of hero regulations. Ben had to suppress a laugh at Ida's earnestness. Noted. Where I come from, the rules are different. America sounds so cool. Kaminari joined their growing group, his blonde hair with a black lightning bolt standing out. Heroes just jumping into action whenever needed. It's not exactly, Ben started. Good morning, extras, Bakugo growled, pushing past their group. Move it or lose it. Charming as always, Ben muttered. Bakugo shot him a murderous glare. Got something to say, shapeshifter? Just admiring your people skills, explosion boy. Bakugo stepped closer, small pops crackling from his palms. You think you're hot shit because of some viral videos and jumping into a villain fight? I've been training my quirk since I could walk. You're nothing special. Ben met his gaze evenly. And yet you seem pretty worked up for someone who doesn't think I'm special. Guys, please, Midoriya stepped between them. We shouldn't fight, stay out of this, Deku. Bakugo snapped. No, he's right, Ben backed down first, seeing a teacher approaching. Not worth getting detention over. Bakugo scoffed. Whatever. Just stay out of my way in training today. He stormed off toward the classroom. What's his problem? Ben asked as they resumed walking. Bakugo's always been competitive, Midoriya explained. And your quirk, well, it challenges his view of himself as the strongest. He'll settle down eventually, Kirishima appeared, slinging arms around Ben and Midoriya's shoulders. Bakugo respects strength. Show him what you've got in training, and he'll come around. Somehow I doubt that, Ben replied. Foundational hero studies turned out to be much more physically demanding than Ben anticipated. All Might had them running rescue drills that pushed even his alien forms to their limits. Young heroes. All Might boomed across the training ground. In real disasters, you'll face multiple challenges simultaneously. Unstable structures. Fire hazards. Civilians in panic. You must remain calm and effective. The scenario before them was a mock earthquake zone with civilians, training dummies, trapped in progressively more dangerous situations. Teams of 2 had 15 minutes to rescue as many as possible. Tennyson. Bakugo. You're up next. All Might announced. You've got to be kidding me, Ben muttered. Bakugo looked equally displeased. Don't slow me down, American. They approached the starting line as All Might reset the simulation. Remember, All Might advised, this exercise tests not just power, but judgment. Work together. Whatever, Bakugo grumbled. I'll take the left side, you take right. Stay out of my way. Before Ben could respond, the buzzer sounded. Bakugo immediately launched himself forward with his explosions, heading toward a collapsed building. Great teamwork already, Ben sighed, activating the Omnitrix. He selected Heat Blast and transformed in a flash of green light. The training ground was impressive, real buildings reduced to rubble, controlled fires burning in various sections, and dummies positioned in increasingly difficult locations. Ben spotted a civilian trapped under a heavy concrete slab. He approached carefully, aware that shifting the wrong piece could bring the entire structure down. Hang on, I'll get you out, he said instinctively, though he knew it was just a dummy. Using Heat Blast's temperature control, he superheated specific points of the concrete, then rapidly cooled them, creating fracture lines. The slab cracked precisely where he intended, allowing him to lift the smaller pieces without compromising structural integrity. Once the civilian was free, he carried it to the designated safe zone, then headed back into the disaster area. In the distance, he could see Bakugo blasting his way through obstacles, efficiently if not gently extracting trapped dummies. Time for someone more agile. Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming into Spider Monkey, a blue, four-armed simian alien with enhanced agility and web-shooting capabilities. He swung between unstable structures, using his webs to stabilize collapsing sections while extracting trapped civilians. His nimble form could reach places Bakugo couldn't, retrieving dummies from tight spaces between debris. Meanwhile, Bakugo had reached a particularly challenging scenario, a dummy trapped in a burning building, simulated with lights and smoke machines, that was actively collapsing. The obvious approach would be to blast through, but that would trigger further collapse. Bakugo, wait. Ben called, swinging over. That structure's unstable. I know what I'm doing. Bakugo snapped, preparing an explosion. Just hold up a sec. Ben landed beside him. Look at the support columns, they're already compromised. One wrong move and the whole thing comes down on the civilian. Bakugo hesitated, assessing the situation. So what's your brilliant plan, monkey boy? I create web supports for the critical stress points, Ben explained quickly, while you make a precise opening. No big booms, just focused force. Bakugo looked like he wanted to argue but grudgingly nodded. Fine. But make it quick. Ben shot thick strands of webbing at key structural points, creating temporary supports. Once secured, he gave Bakugo a thumbs up. With surprising control, Bakugo directed small, concentrated explosions to create an opening in the wall. Ben immediately swung through, retrieved the dummy, and they both retreated as the building groaned but remained standing. Not bad, American, Bakugo muttered as they placed the dummy in the safe zone. You too. Didn't know you could dial it back like that. I have perfect control, Bakugo snapped. I just usually don't need to hold back. 3 more minutes remained in their exercise. They had rescued 8 dummies, with at least 2 more visible in difficult positions. 2 left, Ben noted. 1 on the water tower and 1 under that electrical transformer. I'll take the tower, Bakugo said. You handle the electrical one. Your monkey form is better for tight spaces. It wasn't quite friendship, but it was functional teamwork. Ben swung toward the transformer, which sparked dangerously, with simulated electricity, but still intimidating. The dummy was wedged underneath, with barely enough space to reach. Maybe not Spider Monkey for this one, Ben muttered, transforming again. This time he became Upgrade, a liquid metal alien that could merge with and enhance technology. Ben flowed around the transformer, merging with it and temporarily stabilizing its erratic energy output. From inside the machine, he extended a tendril to grasp the dummy, pulling it safely away before detaching from the transformer. By the time he returned to the safe zone, Bakugo had already retrieved the final dummy, looking smug. Time's up. All Might announced. 10 rescues. A perfect score. Excellent work, young heroes. The rest of the class applauded as Ben returned to human form. That was amazing. Uraraka exclaimed. Very efficient use of your transformation capabilities, Ida noted approvingly. Bakugo just scoffed, but Ben caught what might have been the ghost of a respectful nod. Next team. All Might called. Midoriya. Todoroki. As the next pair prepared, Ben found himself standing near Yaoyorozu, who was taking notes on a clipboard. Smart thinking with the web supports, she commented. Most students would have tried to power through. Thanks. Where I come from, collateral damage counts against you. An admirable perspective, she smiled. Your various forms are quite diverse in capability. I'd be interested to learn more about their specific properties sometime. Sure thing, Ben replied. Though I'm still figuring some of them out myself. Throughout the rest of class, Ben observed his classmates' quirks in action. Midoriya's super strength. Todoroki's ice and fire. Uraraka's gravity manipulation. Each student approached the rescue scenario differently, using their unique abilities to solve problems. It reminded him a bit of the plumbers back home, different species with different abilities working together. Maybe Hero School wasn't so different after all. After 3 days of intensive training, Aizawa announced a special exercise. Tomorrow we'll conduct an off-campus rescue simulation at the unforeseen simulation joint, he explained in his monotone voice. You'll face disaster scenarios beyond what our standard facilities can provide. Prepare accordingly. The class buzzed with excitement. The USJ is amazing. Kaminari told Ben. It has zones for every type of disaster, landslides, floods, fires, you name it. It'll be our first time working with pro heroes besides our teachers, Midoriya added excitedly. That night, Ben lay awake in his dorm room, thinking. 5 days since arriving in this dimension. 5 days of playing student while Tetrax was out there somewhere, planning who knows what. He'd tried contacting Nizu for updates on the investigation but received only vague assurances that progress was being made. Not exactly reassuring. Ben activated the Omnitrix and transformed into gray matter, his hyper-intelligent Galvan form. The tiny gray alien sat cross-legged on the bed, genius brain working through possibilities. Tetrax mentioned extracting technology, gray matter mused in his high-pitched voice. This world has advanced support items for heroes, but nothing that would interest a dimensional traveler, unless. His large eyes widened with realization. Unless he's not after existing technology. He's after what could be developed by introducing cross-dimensional tech to this world. Ben changed back, the implications sinking in. If Tetrax introduced even basic Galvan technology to this hero-obsessed society, the results could be catastrophic. Imagine trigger-happy Bakugo with a null-void projector or interdimensional phase shifters. He needed to find Tetrax before that happened. But how? Gray matter had analyzed the dimensional energy signatures, but tracking them required equipment Ben didn't have. Frustrated, he finally drifted into uneasy sleep. The buses to the USJ facility departed early the next morning. Ben found himself sitting beside Todoroki, who maintained his usual stoic silence while other students chattered excitedly. Not much of a morning person. Ben ventured. Todoroki glanced at him with heterochromatic eyes. I prefer to conserve energy before training. Smart. Never know what they'll throw at us. Todoroki studied him for a moment. Your crystal form. The one you used against Bakugo in combat training. It's similar to the villain from the shopping district incident. Ben tensed. How did Todoroki know that? What makes you say that? News footage. Eyewitness descriptions. The crystal formations left behind match those your form creates, but with a purple coloration instead of green. You're very observant. Was it coincidence? Todoroki asked directly. Or is there a connection between your powers and the villains? Before Ben could formulate a response, the bus arrived at their destination. The USJ building loomed before them, a massive domed facility with unforeseen simulation joint emblazoned across its entrance. We'll continue this conversation later, Todoroki said quietly as they disembarked. Inside, the facility was even more impressive than described. A central plaza overlooked various disaster zones, a shipwreck in an artificial lake, a landslide area, a conflagration zone with controlled fires, and more. A pro hero in a space suit awaited them at the entrance. Welcome to USJ, they announced. I'm 13, a rescue specialist. Today's exercise will test your ability to save lives in various disaster scenarios. The students gathered around as 13 explained the facility's capabilities. Ben found himself instinctively scanning for exits, choke points, and defensive positions, habits formed from years of unexpected alien attacks. Before we begin, 13 started, but never finished the sentence. A swirling black mist materialized in the central plaza below them. From within, figures emerged, dozens of them, with menacing appearances and hostile intent. "Stick together!" Aizawa shouted, immediately on alert. "Those are villains." Ben's hand moved to the Omnitrix as he assessed the threat. The black mist expanded, forming a humanoid figure with glowing yellow eyes. "Greetings, UA students," the mist villain announced. "We are the League of Villains. Forgive our audacity, but today we've come to kill the symbol of peace, All Might. 13. Protect the students." Aizawa commanded, pulling his capture scarf tight and donning his yellow goggles. "I'll handle the plaza." "Sensei, you can't fight them all." Midoriya protested. "No hero is a one-trick pony," Aizawa replied before leaping into action. What followed was an incredible display as Aizawa, who Ben had written off as a tired, unimpressive teacher, systematically dismantled villain after villain. His scarf captured opponents while his quirk-canceling gaze neutralized their powers. "We need to get help," Ida insisted. "Someone must reach campus." Before they could form a plan, the black mist materialized directly in front of them. "I cannot allow that," the mist villain stated. "Greetings. We are the League of Villains. Our mission is to kill All Might, the symbol of peace. He was scheduled to be here, yet I see no sign of him. No matter, my role remains the same." The mist expanded rapidly, engulfing the students before anyone could react. Ben felt a disorienting sensation as darkness surrounded him. When light returned, he found himself plummeting toward an artificial lake. The flood zone, he recognized, quickly activating the Omnitrix. He transformed into Ripjaws, a fish-like alien perfect for aquatic environments, just before hitting the water. Ben swam deeper, quickly assessing his surroundings. The artificial shipwreck loomed nearby, and he wasn't alone. Several villains with aquatic quirks circled below, and he spotted Midoriya struggling against a shark-headed opponent. Without hesitation, Ben shot forward, his powerful jaws clamping down on the shark villain's arm. The villain howled in pain underwater, releasing Midoriya. Ben pulled Midoriya toward the surface, breaking through with a splash. "Tennyson." Midoriya gasped. "That form," explanations later, Ben replied, his voice guttural in this form. "We've got company." The water churned as villains surfaced around them, at least 6 aquatic opponents forming a circle. "More UA brats," one gurgled. "The bosses said we could kill the extras." "Big mistake," Ben growled, diving beneath the surface. Underwater, Ripjaws was in his element. He moved with incredible speed, razor teeth flashing as he disabled villain after villain with precision strikes to non-lethal areas. Within moments, unconscious bodies floated to the surface. Ben emerged to find Midoriya staring in awe. "That was incredible. Your aquatic form has hydrodynamic adaptations similar to predatory fish, but with humanoid dexterity and apparent enhanced strength." "Thanks for the analysis," Ben replied, swimming toward the ship. "We need to regroup with the others." "Agreed. Tsuyu might be in this zone too, her frog quirk works well in water." They climbed aboard the shipwreck, finding a frog-like girl already there. "Midoriya." "Tennyson." She greeted them with a surprisingly deep voice. "Karo." "Azui." "You're okay." Midoriya exclaimed. "Call me Tsuyu," she replied. "This is bad. That warp villain scattered everyone. I saw Aizawa-sensei fighting dozens of villains alone." "We need a plan," Ben said, touching the Omnitrix symbol to transform back to human form. "First priority is regrouping with other students. Then we either help the teachers or get help from campus. The central plaza provides the best vantage point," Tsuyu suggested. We could assess the situation from there. Good idea, Ben agreed. I can get us there, but we'll need to be careful. Midoriya, any ideas for approaching undetected? Midoriya thought for a moment. Tsuyu's stealth capabilities combined with your transformation versatility, do you have a form good for underwater stealth? Ben considered his options. Big Chill can turn invisible and phase through objects, but doesn't do great underwater. Ripjaws is aquatic but not stealthy. XLR-8 could get us there fast, but we'd be exposed. What about that crystal form? Tsuyu asked. Could you create a shield to protect us? Diamond Head? That could work for defense, but not stealth. Ben looked over the ship's railing at the villains regrouping in the water. We need to move now, before they call reinforcements. I can carry you both with my tongue, Tsuyu offered. And leap from the ship to the shore in one jump. Ben and Midoriya exchanged glances. Let's do it. Tsuyu wrapped her elongated tongue around both boys' waists, then launched herself from the ship with powerful frog legs. They soared over the water, landing safely at the zone's edge. From their position, they could see the central plaza where Aizawa continued fighting, though visibly tiring. He can't keep this up, Midoriya worried. Erasing so many quirks simultaneously while fighting. Ben's attention shifted to the center of the villain group, where a humanoid figure with disembodied hands attached all over his body seemed to be directing operations. Beside him stood something monstrous, a massive, muscle-bound creature with exposed brain and beak-like mouth. What is that thing? Ben whispered. I don't know, Tsuyu replied. But it doesn't look natural, even for a mutation quirk. As they watched, Aizawa engaged the hand-covered villain directly. For a moment, it seemed like he had the upper hand, until the villain grabbed his elbow, causing the capture weapon and skin to disintegrate. His quirk destroys whatever he touches, Midoriya realized in horror. The situation deteriorated rapidly. The monstrous creature attacked Aizawa with devastating speed and power, smashing him into the concrete repeatedly. We have to help him. Midoriya moved to stand, but Tsuyu pulled him back down. We'd only get in the way, she said grimly. We need to. She fell silent as a familiar swirling portal opened near the hand villain. From within stepped a purple crystalline figure Ben immediately recognized. Tetrax, he hissed. You know him? Midoriya asked in surprise. He's the crystal villain from the shopping district, Ben explained, eyes narrowed. What's he doing with these league guys? The three students crept closer to overhear the conversation. Waste of resources, Tetrax was saying. I told you All Might wouldn't be here. Your intel was faulty, the hand villain scratched his neck irritably. He was scheduled for today's class. Schedules change, Tetrax replied dismissively. No matter. Did you bring what I requested? The hand villain gestured to a subordinate, who handed over a metal briefcase. Support company blueprints, as promised. Though I don't see how outdated tech helps either of us kill All Might. Leave that to me, Tetrax tucked the case away. Our partnership benefits us both, Shigaraki. You distract the heroes while I acquire what I need. Speaking of distractions, Shigaraki suddenly looked toward the water's edge. It seems we have an audience. Ben realized too late they'd been spotted. Move, he shouted, pushing Midoriya and Tsuyu away as the monstrous creature suddenly appeared before them, moving with impossible speed. Nomu, Shigaraki commanded lazily. Capture the green-haired one. Kill the others. The creature, Nomu, lunged forward. Ben slammed down the Omnitrix dial, transforming into four arms, a four-armed, red-skinned alien with tremendous strength. Get back, he shouted, intercepting Nomu's charge. The collision was like hitting a concrete wall. Despite four arms' impressive strength, Nomu barely budged. Ben threw a series of powerful punches, each landing with thunderous impact, yet the creature showed no signs of pain or damage. What is this thing? Ben grunted, struggling to hold Nomu back. Its quirk must be shock absorption, Midoriya analyzed frantically. Physical attacks won't work. Great timing for that information. Ben replied, getting thrown aside like a ragdoll. Nomu turned toward Midoriya and Tsuyu, who were helping the injured Aizawa. No, you don't. Ben charged again, this time leaping over Nomu to grab it from behind. He applied a powerful chokehold, trying to cut off oxygen to its brain, assuming it needed oxygen. The creature reached back and grabbed Ben, flipping him over its head and slamming him into the ground with enough force to crater the concrete. Okay, that hurt, Ben groaned. For arms was tough, but this Nomu hit like a freight train. How fascinating, Tetrax observed from nearby. The Omnitrix adapting to combat situations. But choosing strength against Nomu. Poor tactical decision, Tennyson. Ben struggled to his feet. Thanks for the critique. Got any other helpful tips? Several, Tetrax replied. But education costs extra. Nomu charged again, moving so fast Ben barely had time to brace himself. This time, Ben sidestepped and used the creature's momentum to throw it off balance. It worked momentarily, but Nomu recovered with unnatural speed. This isn't working, Ben realized. For arm strength wasn't enough. He needed a different approach. Touching the Omnitrix symbol, Ben transformed into Ghost Freak, a phantom-like alien with intangibility, invisibility, and possession abilities. Let's see how you handle what you can't touch, Ben's eerie voice echoed as he became invisible. Nomu paused, its limited intelligence confused by the disappearance of its opponent. Ben phased through the creature's body, attempting to possess it from within. What he encountered inside Nomu's consciousness, or lack thereof, chilled him to his core. There was nothing there. No mind to control, no thoughts to influence, just biological programming and pain. Ben withdrew rapidly, materializing nearby. That thing, it's not alive, not really. It's been engineered. Of course, Tetrax commented. Bioengineering is common practice where we come from. These league amateurs are just beginning to explore the possibilities. Shigaraki scratched his neck irritably. Nomu, enough playing. Capture the green boy. The master wants to study him. Nomu moved with renewed purpose toward Midoriya, who stood protectively in front of Tsuyu and the injured Aizawa. Midoriya, run. Ben shouted, flying between them. I won't abandon you. Midoriya replied, assuming a fighting stance despite the trembling in his legs. Before either could act, the entrance doors of USJ exploded inward with tremendous force. Have no fear, a familiar voice boomed. For I am here. All Might stood framed in the doorway, but not with his usual smile. His expression was one of cold fury. All Might. Midoriya breathed in relief. Perfect timing, Shigaraki's tone mixed excitement and hatred. The final boss appears. What followed was combat on a scale Ben had never witnessed. All Might moved so fast he seemed to teleport, evacuating the injured Aizawa and students to safety before engaging Nomu directly. The clash between them created shockwaves that shook the entire facility. Nomu, designed specifically to kill All Might, matched the hero blow for blow. We should help, Ben said, returning to human form beside Midoriya and Tsuyu at the edge of the battle zone. How? Tsuyu asked practically. That level of combat is beyond us. She had a point. The speed and power displayed by both combatants exceeded anything Ben had seen outside of his Alien X form. Meanwhile, Tetrax observed the battle with calculated interest. Magnificent specimen. No wonder you spoke so highly of this symbol of peace, Shigaraki. Stop admiring and help. Shigaraki snapped. Nomu was designed for All Might, but 2-on-1 improves our odds. Tetrax shrugged. Not my fight. I have what I came for. He turned to leave. Oh no you don't, Ben muttered, activating the Omnitrix again. He transformed into XLR-8 and raced toward Tetrax while everyone's attention remained fixed on All Might's battle. Ben slammed into the crystalline alien at top speed, knocking the briefcase from his grasp. Leaving so soon? Tennyson, Tetrax growled, recovering quickly. Always interfering. It's kind of my thing, Ben replied, grabbing the briefcase and racing away. Tetrax fired crystal shards with deadly accuracy, several grazing XLR-8's body as Ben weaved and dodged. One particularly well-aimed shard penetrated his leg, causing Ben to stumble and roll across the ground. The briefcase skidded away, popping open to reveal technical blueprints and what looked like experimental support items. You don't understand what you're interfering with, Tetrax approached, regenerating his crystal arm into a blade. This world's technology, combined with ours, could revolutionize dimensional travel. Yeah, and I bet you'd use it for completely peaceful purposes, Ben replied sarcastically, pulling the crystal shard from his leg with a wince. The multiverse is infinite, Tennyson. Why limit ourselves to one reality when countless others offer resources, technology, knowledge? Because people aren't resources to be harvested. Ben shot back. A tremendous explosion from the central plaza interrupted them. All Might had overcome Nomu's shock absorption with sheer, overwhelming force, sending the creature flying through the USJ dome and into the sky beyond. Tell your League this, All Might's voice thundered. The symbol of peace will never fall to villains. Shigaraki scratched frantically at his neck. Cheat codes. He's using cheat codes. The Black Mist villain materialized beside Shigaraki. We should retreat. More heroes will arrive soon. Tetrax assessed the situation with cold calculation. Indeed. Tactical withdrawal is prudent. He activated a device on his wrist, opening a swirling dimensional portal. Another time, Tennyson. Wait. Ben lunged forward, but Tetrax kicked him back. Your tenacity is admirable, Tetrax said. But misplaced. I'm not your enemy, Ben Tennyson. In fact, I may be this world's salvation. With that cryptic statement, he stepped into the portal, which collapsed behind him. Simultaneously, the Mist villain transported himself and Shigaraki away, leaving the remaining League members to be captured by the arriving pro-heroes. Ben returned to human form, clutching his injured leg. The blueprints from the briefcase were scattered around him, their contents incomprehensible technical diagrams. Midoriya rushed to his side. Tennyson. Are you okay? I'll live, Ben grimaced. But Tetrax got away. Who is he? How do you know him? Midoriya helped Ben to his feet. Ben hesitated. His cover story was already wearing thin. It's complicated. Let's just say we have history. All Might approached them, still emanating power though looking somewhat strained. Young Tennyson. That was reckless, engaging a villain alone. Says the guy who just punched a monster through the roof, Ben replied with a pained smile. All Might's permanent grin seemed to soften. Fair point. But I am a professional. You are still students. We couldn't just watch, Midoriya insisted. Aizawa-sensei was, I understand your intentions. All Might placed a massive hand on each boy's shoulder. Truly. But remember, the mark of a great hero isn't just courage in the face of danger, but wisdom to know when to fight and when to seek help. Emergency personnel swarmed the facility, treating injured students and teachers. Ben's leg wound was bandaged, though he assured the paramedics it would heal quickly due to his quirk. As they were loaded onto buses to return to campus, Todoroki sat beside Ben again. That villain, he said quietly. The Crystal One. He wasn't part of the League, was he? Ben sighed. His secret was unraveling. No. He's something else. Todoroki nodded, accepting the vague answer for now. Whatever's going on, Tennyson, it's bigger than you're letting on. Yeah, Ben admitted. It is. Principal Nizu called Ben to his office immediately upon return to campus. The small animal-like principal sat behind his desk, serious expression replacing his usual cheerfulness. "Mr. Tennyson," he began. "I understand you encountered Tetrax again during the USJ incident." "Yeah. He's working with the League of Villains somehow," Ben confirmed. "They gave him support item blueprints. He said something about combining technologies." Nizu nodded gravely. "As we feared. A being with interdimensional capabilities allying with local villains creates unprecedented danger." "I tried to stop him, and nearly got yourself killed," Nizu interrupted. "These are not ordinary villains, Mr. Tennyson. The creature you faced, Nomu, was bioengineered specifically to kill All Might." "I noticed," Ben rubbed his leg. "But I can't just sit in class while Tetrax is out there planning who knows what." "No one is suggesting inaction," Nizu assured him. "But reckless solo heroics will only complicate matters." Ben slumped in his chair. "So what do we do?" "We prepare," Nizu replied. "UA is accelerating security measures. The police are investigating the League. And you." He fixed Ben with an intelligent gaze, "will continue your training. Master every form your Omnitrix provides. Because when Tetrax returns, and he will, we'll need every advantage." "There's something else," Ben added. "Tetrax said he might be this world's salvation." "What did he mean by that?" "I cannot say," Nizu replied thoughtfully. "But villains often disguise destructive ambitions behind grandiose language. Whatever his true objective, it cannot be beneficial for our world if it involves alliance with the League of Villains." As Ben left Nizu's office, his thoughts whirled. Tetrax wasn't just a dimensional traveler, he was plotting something that involved this world's technology. And somehow, Ben suspected the Omnitrix was central to his plans. News of the USJ attack spread throughout Japan, dominating headlines for days. UA remained closed for 3 days while security was enhanced and investigations conducted. When classes resumed, the atmosphere had changed. The playful excitement of hero training now carried an edge of seriousness. These students had faced real villains, real danger, and survived. "Man, you were awesome." Kirishima slapped Ben's back as they entered classroom 1A, taking on that brain monster head-to-head. Rib bit. "Very brave, so you agreed. Though perhaps unwise. Says the girl who jumped into danger to help Aizawa-sensei," Ben countered with a smile. The classroom door slid open, and to everyone's surprise, Aizawa entered, completely wrapped in bandages except for his eyes. "Morning," he mumbled through the wrappings. "Aizawa-sensei," the class exclaimed in unison. "You're back too soon." Ida chopped his arms. "Your injuries were severe." "The welfare of my students takes priority over personal recovery," Aizawa replied matter-of-factly. "Besides, we have no time to waste. The UA Sports Festival is fast approaching." "Sports Festival?" Ben questioned. "After what just happened?" "The administration has decided to proceed as scheduled," Aizawa explained. "With enhanced security, of course. UA must demonstrate that the attack has not deterred our mission to train the next generation of heroes." The class erupted in excited chatter. "The sports festival is huge," Kaminari told Ben. "Pro heroes from all over watch to scout potential sidekicks. It's our chance to get noticed," Uraraka added, uncharacteristically serious. Ben found himself swept up in the excitement despite his concerns about Tetrax. Over lunch, Midoriya explained the festival's significance in Japanese hero culture. "It's like the Olympics, but for hero students," he elaborated between bites of katsudon. "Millions watch on TV. Agencies scout top performers. Your future career can be made or broken based on your showing. So no pressure," Ben joked. "Will you participate?" Uraraka asked. "As an exchange student?" "Principal Nizu said I should," Ben replied. Something about maintaining my cover, my exchange student experience. Ida gave him a curious look at the slip-up but didn't comment. Later that day, during heroics training, All Might announced a new exercise. Quirk extension, he boomed. Today you'll push your abilities beyond normal limits. For some, that means power output. For others, duration. For transformation types like Young Tennyson, variety and transition speed. The class was paired off, with partners challenging each other to exceed their usual capabilities. Ben found himself partnered with Todoroki. So, Ben began awkwardly as they faced off in training ground beta. How exactly do I extend my quirk? Switch between forms faster, Todoroki suggested. Or maintain transformations longer. I'll create obstacles you need to overcome with multiple forms. Sounds reasonable, Ben nodded. And how about you? What are you extending? Temperature control, Todoroki replied, raising his right hand as frost formed. Most students have seen only a fraction of what my ice can do. What followed was one of the most challenging training sessions Ben had experienced. Todoroki created increasingly complex ice structures, mazes, traps, moving barriers, that required Ben to switch rapidly between forms. Diamond Head to smash through ice walls. Big Chill to phase through barriers. Heat Blast to melt obstacles. XLR-8 to navigate rapidly shifting pathways. With each transformation, Ben had to act instantly, no time to consider strategy. Todoroki proved relentless, his ice quirk far more versatile than Ben had initially realized. You're holding back, Ben observed during a brief pause, noticing Todoroki used only his right side. So are you, Todoroki countered. I've counted 8 distinct forms, yet you transformed into 17 different forms during the USJ incident, according to witness statements. Ben raised an eyebrow. You're keeping count. Analysis is essential for improvement, Todoroki replied matter-of-factly. Your transformations follow patterns. Combat forms when threatened directly. Utility forms for rescue or escape. But you default to strength when surprised. Ben hadn't realized his tendencies were so obvious. And you default to ice, even though your left side has fire power. Todoroki's expression hardened. I don't use my left side. Why not? Seems like you'd be twice as effective with both. I have my reasons, Todoroki replied coldly, quite literally as the temperature around them dropped. Again. This time, no pauses between forms. The training intensified, Todoroki seemingly motivated by Ben's observation about his fire side. Ice spikes erupted faster, maze walls shifted more quickly, and the temperature plummeted to dangerous levels. Ben switched rapidly between aliens, barely completing one transformation before initiating the next. The Omnitrix protested with warning beeps as he pushed its recharge capabilities. Getting tired yet? Ben called out as Heat Blast, melting through an ice barrier. I could continue indefinitely, Todoroki replied, though sweat beaded on his right side despite the cold. By the end of the session, both boys had reached new limits. Ben had managed 11 consecutive transformations without pause, a personal record, while Todoroki had created his most complex ice structures to date. Good work, young heroes. All Might praised as they rejoined the class. True growth comes from pushing beyond your comfort zone. Nice job out there, Ben told Todoroki as they headed for the changing rooms. Your ice control is impressive. Todoroki gave him an appraising look. Your adaptability is exceptional. Most quirks have clear limitations. Yours seems to evolve with each challenge. Thanks, I think. Todoroki paused before entering the changing room. The sports festival. Don't hold back. I want to face your full capabilities. With that declaration, he disappeared inside, leaving Ben to wonder if he'd just received a friendly challenge or a declaration of war. That evening, Ben found himself unable to sleep. The encounter with Tetrax, the upcoming sports festival, Todoroki's challenge, his mind buzzed with activity. Slipping out of the dorms, he headed for Training Ground Gamma, which remained open for after-hours practice. The industrial landscape of pipes and platforms made an ideal setting for testing transformations without supervision. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through alien forms he hadn't used since arriving in this world. Each had strengths and weaknesses, applications he hadn't fully explored in UA's structured training environment. Time to go outside the curriculum, he muttered, selecting Wildvine, a plant-based alien with regenerative abilities and extendable limbs. For over an hour, Ben cycled through transformations, pushing each form's limits, practicing quick switches between complementary aliens. From Cannonbolt's defensive rolling to Stinkfly's aerial maneuverability. From Wildmutt's sensory tracking to Upchuck's matter consumption. Your form selection is expanding, a voice observed from the shadows. Good. Ben spun around to find Aizawa watching, still bandaged but standing unaided. Sensei. I was just, training unsupervised. Aizawa finished for him. Technically against regulations. Practically, necessary, in your case. Ben returned to human form. I couldn't sleep. USJ is still on your mind. That, and other things, Ben admitted. Tetrax, the crystal villain, he's from my hometown. His appearance here can't be coincidence. Aizawa studied him silently for a moment. Nizu informed select staff about your dimensional situation. Your concern is warranted. Ben blinked in surprise. He told you. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa replied dryly. And I was nearly killed by associates of your interdimensional pursuer. I deserved context. Fair point, Ben conceded. Your combat instincts are solid, Aizawa continued, but undisciplined. You rely too heavily on power over technique. I usually fight alone, Ben explained. No team, no backup. Not anymore, Aizawa corrected. At USJ, you protected your classmates. They, in turn, supported you. That's what we teach at UA, heroism isn't solo glory, it's coordinated response to crisis. Ben hadn't considered it that way. His hero career had always been largely independent, with occasional assistance from Gwen and Kevin. The idea of systematic teamwork was new. The sports festival will test you differently, Aizawa continued. It's not just about raw power. Strategy, adaptability, resource management, all are equally important. Sounds like you're giving me advice, Ben noted with surprise. I'm a teacher. It's my job. Aizawa turned to leave, then added, whatever Tetrax is planning, it won't happen immediately. Focus on your immediate challenges first. The festival. Your classmates. Your training. After Aizawa departed, Ben remained at the training ground, considering his words. Perhaps the teacher was right, obsessing over Tetrax wouldn't help if Ben wasn't prepared when they inevitably confronted each other again. And preparation meant mastering not just his transformations, but how they functioned in this world, with these allies, against these enemies. The week before the sports festival transformed UA into a hive of activity. Students trained obsessively, support classes worked overtime on equipment upgrades, and the media camped outside the gates daily. Class 1A's battle experience at USJ made them celebrities of sorts. Other students eyed them with mixed admiration and competitiveness. Don't let it go to your heads, Aizawa warned them. Being targeted by villains doesn't make you special. Being prepared for whatever comes next, that's what matters. During lunch one day, Ben found himself surrounded by students from other classes, bombarding him with questions. Is it true you fought that brain monster one-on-one? Can you really transform into anything? Are American hero schools different from UA? A purple-haired boy from General Studies watched from nearby, his expression calculating. When the crowd dispersed, he approached Ben directly. Hitoshi Shinso, he introduced himself. Class 1C. Ben Tennyson. But you already knew that. Shinso nodded. Everyone knows Class 1A now. Especially the American with the transformation quirk. Something about Shinso's tone put Ben on edge. Something on your mind? Just curious why someone transfers to UA mid-year, immediately before villain attacks and interdimensional incidents. Ben tensed. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, Shinso replied. Especially when the transfer student fights like a pro, not a trainee. I had good teachers back home, Ben deflected. I'm sure, Shinso's expression remained unreadable. See you at the festival, Tennyson. I look forward to testing your adaptability. As Shinso walked away, Midoriya joined Ben at the table. I see you met Shinso. Yeah. Not the friendliest guy. He's from General Studies, Midoriya explained. Students there can transfer to the hero course if they prove themselves. The festival is his chance. Ben glanced in the direction Shinso had gone. Seems like he's got something to prove. Don't we all? Midoriya smiled wryly. By the way, some of us are doing extra training this afternoon. Want to join? The extra training turned out to be an informal gathering at Gym Gamma, commonly called the Training Dining Land due to its creator, Cementos. Midoriya, Uraraka, Ida, and several other 1A students were practicing quirk applications. Tennyson. Kirishima greeted enthusiastically. Perfect timing. We need someone with versatile offense to test defenses against. For the next 2 hours, Ben cycled through combat forms, helping his classmates prepare for the festival's challenges. He fired heat blasts flames against Todoroki's ice shields, tested Ida's speed against XLR-8, and matched forearm strength against Sato's sugar-enhanced power. During a water break, Uraraka approached him. Can I ask you something, Tennyson? Sure. Why did you want to become a hero? The question caught Ben off guard. His journey hadn't started with heroic aspirations, just a 10-year-old kid finding a weird alien watch in the woods. I sort of fell into it, I guess. Had abilities, saw people who needed help, did what seemed right. That simple. Uraraka seemed surprised. Not really, Ben admitted. At first, it was exciting, having powers, fighting bad guys. But eventually, I realized having these abilities meant responsibility. People counted on me. Couldn't let them down. He shrugged. What about you? Uraraka's usual cheerfulness dimmed slightly. Money, originally. Money? That wasn't the answer he expected. She nodded, looking slightly embarrassed. My parents own a construction company that's struggling. Hero work pays well. I wanted to help them. That's actually really noble, Ben said sincerely. Is it? Sometimes it feels selfish compared to others who want to save people or inspire hope. Helping your family isn't selfish, Ben assured her. My grandfather always said intentions matter, but actions define us. You're training to save lives, protect people. Your reasons are your own. Uraraka's smile returned. Thanks, Tennyson. That helps. As training concluded, Ben found himself walking back to the dorms alongside Midoriya. You've really bonded with everyone, Midoriya observed. They're a good group, Ben replied. Reminds me of my team back home. You must miss them. Every day, Ben admitted. My cousin Gwen would love the structured training here. My friend Kevin would probably pick fights with Bakugo hourly. Will you go back? After graduation, I mean. Ben hesitated. How much could he reveal? If I can, yeah. I have responsibilities there. We'll all be sad to see you go, Midoriya said sincerely. But I understand having a place you belong. The conversation left Ben thoughtful. For the first time since arriving, he realized he'd developed genuine connections here, friendships that mattered. Whatever happened with Tetrax, these people had become important to him. The day before the sports festival, an unexpected visitor arrived at UA, all might in his civilian form, requesting a private meeting with Ben. They sat in an empty classroom, Toshinori Yagi looking even more gaunt than usual. "Young Tennyson," he began, "there's something you should know before tomorrow's festival." "What is it?" "Our intelligence suggests Tetrax may be observing the event." Ben straightened. "Why?" "It's just a school competition. One broadcast nationwide," Yagi reminded him. "Showcasing the capabilities of UA's students, including yours." "He's studying me," Ben realized. "Analyzing my forms, limitations." "Precisely." Yagi nodded gravely. "The question becomes, how much do you reveal?" Ben considered this. "If I hold back, I'm not helping my classmates take the festival seriously. If I go all out, you provide Tetrax with valuable intelligence," Yagi finished. "What would you do?" Ben asked. Yagi sighed, his sunken eyes distant. "When I was young, I faced similar dilemmas. Villains studied my techniques, adapted to my strengths. I learned that revealing capabilities isn't always detrimental if it forces enemies to respect your power. So, intimidation through demonstration?" "Something like that," Yagi smiled weakly. "But remember, this is primarily a sporting event. Your fellow students have trained diligently. They deserve your best effort." "I understand," Ben nodded. "One more thing," Yagi added, his tone shifting. "Principal Nizu believes we should consider telling select students the truth about your situation." "What? Why?" "Because secrets among allies create vulnerabilities," Yagi explained. "Todoroki, Midoriya, Bakugo, they've already noticed inconsistencies in your exchange student story. Their trust will be essential if Tetrax escalates his plans." Ben ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know. Back home, keeping the Omnitrix secret was always priority one." "Different world, different circumstances," Yagi reminded him. "Consider it. After the festival, perhaps." As Yagi left, Ben stared out the classroom window at the festival preparations visible on the grounds. Massive stages, seating areas, and equipment being assembled for tomorrow's events. Somewhere out there, Tetrax might be watching, planning. But so were thousands of others, students, pros, civilians, all expecting a spectacular display of heroic potential. "No pressure, Tennyson," he muttered to himself. The morning of the UA Sports Festival arrived with perfect weather and unprecedented security. Police and pro-heroes patrolled the perimeter while support staff checked every attendee. Class 1A gathered in their waiting room, pre-event tension filling the air. "This is it." Kirishima punched his hardened fists together. "Our chance to shine. Remember," Ida announced officially, "we represent UA to the nation today. Conduct yourselves with dignity." "Speak for yourself," Bakugo growled. "I'm here to win, not play nice." Todoroki, who had been silently leaning against the wall, suddenly approached the center of the room. The temperature noticeably dropped. "I need to say something," he announced, drawing everyone's attention. His heterochromatic gaze fixed on Midoriya. "Objectively speaking, I'm stronger than you." Midoriya looked startled. "Todoroki, why are you singling me out?" "Because you've got All Might's attention," Todoroki replied coldly. "But I'm going to beat you." His gaze shifted to Ben. "And you, Tennyson. Your versatility is impressive, but today I'll prove my singular power exceeds your adaptability." The room fell silent at the unexpected declaration. "That sounds like a challenge," Ben responded evenly. "I'm game." Bakugo slammed his palm on a table. "Hey! Don't ignore me, half and half. I'm the one who'll come out on top." Before the tension could escalate further, a bell rang, signaling all participants to proceed to the stadium entrance. As they walked through the tunnel toward the blinding sunlight and roaring crowd beyond, Midoriya fell into step beside Ben. "Nervous?" he asked. Ben shrugged. Not really. After facing actual villains, a sports competition seems pretty low stakes. Maybe for you, Midoriya replied with a weak smile. My quirk, it's complicated. Control is still difficult. You'll do fine, Ben assured him. Just remember why you're here. They emerged into the stadium to thunderous applause. Tens of thousands of spectators filled the stands, cameras broadcasting the event nationwide. At the center stage stood a provocatively dressed woman with a dominatrix aesthetic and directional speaker system on her neck. Welcome, everyone, she announced enthusiastically. To UA's sports festival. I'm your host, Midnight. That's a teacher. Ben whispered incredulously to Kirishima. The R-rated hero, Kirishima confirmed with a grin. Cool, right? Different, Ben managed diplomatically. After introductions, Midnight announced the first event, an obstacle race around the stadium's perimeter. All students would compete simultaneously, with the top 42 advancing. Simple enough, Ben thought as they lined up at the starting gate. Just need to pace myself. The tension at the starting line was palpable. Hundreds of students from various departments crowded the narrow tunnel, each determined to advance. Begin. Midnight's whip cracked, and chaos erupted. The narrow tunnel immediately became a bottleneck as students pushed and shoved. Todoroki acted first, freezing the ground and immobilizing many competitors while propelling himself forward on an ice path. Smart move, Ben acknowledged, quickly activating the Omnitrix. He transformed into Heat Blast and melted through Todoroki's ice, creating a path for himself and inadvertently helping others behind him. Thanks, Tennyson. Kirishima called as he hardened his way through the remaining ice. The first obstacle appeared, massive zero-point robots from the entrance exam, blocking the path. Todoroki froze one entirely as he passed. Bakugo blasted over them with explosions. Other students employed various strategies with their quirks. Ben, still as Heat Blast, launched himself skyward on jets of flame, soaring over the mechanical obstacles. He landed on the other side in third place, behind Todoroki and Bakugo. And Tennyson from Class 1A takes a fiery approach to the robots. Present Mick's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. What versatility from our American exchange student. The second obstacle was, the fall, a canyon crossed by tightropes. Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol, transforming into Big Chill. With moth-like wings spread, he flew across effortlessly, passing Bakugo who was using explosions to propel himself. Not fair, American. Bakugo shouted as Ben overtook him. All's fair in love and sports festivals. Ben called back with a raspy laugh. He landed on the other side just behind Todoroki, who glared at him before accelerating his ice path forward. The final obstacle was a minefield, harmless but flashy explosives buried throughout a field. Time for someone with better senses, Ben muttered, transforming into Wildmutt. The orange, eyeless alien's enhanced smell and sensing abilities allowed him to detect the buried mines and navigate between them with agile leaps. Todoroki and Bakugo, now neck and neck ahead of him, were slowed by caution, neither wanting to trigger explosions that would delay them. From behind, an unexpected roar signaled Midoriya's approach. Somehow, he'd ripped up a piece of robot armor and was using it as a makeshift snowboard on the mines, deliberately triggering them for propulsion. Brilliant, Ben thought as Wildmutt, watching Midoriya soar overhead using the explosive force to launch himself forward. The race concluded with Midoriya taking first place through sheer inventiveness, followed by Todoroki, Bakugo, and Ben in fourth. And Midoriya pulls a spectacular upset. Present Mike announced as the crowd roared. Followed by Todoroki, Bakugo, and Tennyson. Ben returned to human form, breathing heavily but exhilarated. He'd held back somewhat, using capable but not overpowering aliens, maintaining his position in the top competitors without revealing too much. Nice race, he told Midoriya, who looked shell-shocked by his own victory. I didn't think that would actually work, Midoriya admitted, still trembling with adrenaline. Bakugo stormed past, smoke literally rising from his hands. Just wait for the next round, Deku. The second event was announced, a cavalry battle. Teams of 2 to 4 students would form human horses and riders, with each person assigned a point value based on their race placement. Midoriya, as first place, was worth 10 million points, making him everyone's primary target. Teams, form up. Midnight announced. Students scrambled to align with those whose quirks complemented their own. Ben found himself approached by several classmates, but Todoroki reached him first. Tennyson, he said without preamble. Join my team. Ben raised an eyebrow. Thought you wanted to beat me? I do, Todoroki confirmed. But first, we take down Midoriya together. Your versatility complements my ice and fire. You're planning to use your left side? If necessary, Todoroki replied reluctantly. Will you join us? Ben considered his options. Teaming with Todoroki meant facing Midoriya as an opponent, but it also meant working with one of the strongest students in their class. Alright, Ben agreed. Who else? Their team filled out with Ida and Yaoyorozu, creating a powerhouse combination of speed, creation, ice/fire, and Ben's transformations. The cavalry battle commenced with predictable results. Everyone targeted Midoriya's team, which included Uraraka, Tokoyami, and surprisingly, Shinso from General Studies. Ben's team initially focused on accumulating points from other teams, with Ben using Ghost Freak's intangibility to phase through defenses and snatch headbands. Effective, Todoroki acknowledged after their third successful capture. Now for the 10 million. They cornered Midoriya's team near the boundary. Todoroki created an ice wall to block their escape while Yaoyorozu produced a capture net. Ben, now transformed into Diamond Head, created crystal barriers to funnel them toward Ida. Sorry about this, Midoriya. Ida called before activating a special move, Recipro Burst. That launched their team forward at incredible speed. In a flash, Todoroki snatched Midoriya's headband. Victory seemed assured until the timer hit the final minute. Bakugo's team made a desperate play for their accumulated points, forcing Ben to switch to 4 arms for defense. When the dust settled, both Ben's team and Midoriya's had qualified for the finals, along with Bakugo's and several others. And that concludes the cavalry battle. Present Mic announced. The qualifying teams will move on to the final event after lunch, a one-on-one tournament. During the lunch break, Ben found a quiet corner of the stadium to collect his thoughts. He'd used 5 different transformations so far, all familiar to his classmates from training. If Tetrax was watching, he hadn't revealed anything new. The finals would be different. One-on-one combat meant going head-to-head with his classmates' full power. Holding back too much would be disrespectful to their efforts. Penny for your thoughts, a familiar voice interrupted. Ben looked up to see Principal Nizu approaching, carrying 2 bento boxes. Just strategizing, Ben replied as Nizu handed him one of the lunches. You've shown admirable restraint so far, Nizu observed. Though I suspect the tournament will require more, significant demonstrations. That's what I'm worried about, Ben admitted. If Tetrax is watching, he almost certainly is, Nizu confirmed. Our security detected dimensional energy fluctuations consistent with his previous appearances. Not enough to pinpoint his location, but enough to confirm presence. Ben's appetite diminished. Great. Consider it an opportunity, Nizu suggested. Show enough to be respected, but retain your true capabilities. A careful balance. Easier said than done in a tournament fight. Indeed, Nizu agreed. But remember why you're here, not just to find your way home, but to prepare for the inevitable confrontation with Tetrax. Today's performance informs that preparation. After lunch, the tournament brackets were announced. Ben's first opponent would be Shinso from General Studies, the purple-haired boy who'd approached him earlier. Interesting, Midoriya commented when the matchups were revealed. Shinso specifically mentioned wanting to face you. Any intel on his quirk? Ben asked. Midoriya frowned. That's the thing, nobody knows exactly what it is. General studies students haven't showcased their quirks publicly like we have. So I'm going in blind, Ben nodded. Should make things interesting. The tournament arena was a simple raised concrete platform, bounded by boundary lines. Midnight served as referee, while Cementos sat nearby to intervene if fights became dangerous. Shinso awaited Ben at the center, his expression unreadable as always. Tennyson, he greeted as Midnight prepared to start the match. Ready to lose to a Gen Ed student? Not particularly, Ben replied easily. But I'm curious what you've got up your sleeve. Shinso smiled thinly. You'll find out soon enough. Begin. Midnight announced. Ben immediately reached for the Omnitrix, but Shinso spoke first. That device on your wrist, it's not really a quirk, is it? The question caught Ben off guard. What are you? Suddenly, Ben's body froze. His mind remained active, but he couldn't move a muscle. It was like being paralyzed, watching helplessly as his body stopped responding to commands. Too easy, Shinso remarked. My brainwashing quirk activates when you respond to my questions. Now, walk out of bounds. To Ben's horror, his body began moving of its own accord, legs carrying him toward the boundary line. He fought desperately against the mental compulsion, but Shinso's control was absolute. The mighty transformation expert, Shinso continued conversationally as Ben unwillingly approached the boundary. Defeated without a single punch thrown. Disappointing, really. I expected more from someone hiding so many secrets. 3 steps from the boundary, Ben's fingers brushed against the Omnitrix. The contact was involuntary, his arms swinging naturally as he walked, but it was enough. The Omnitrix, sensing its wielder's distress, activated. A flash of green light erupted as Ben transformed into Feedback, an alien with electrical absorption and projection abilities. The transformation broke Shinso's mental hold instantly. What? Shinso exclaimed. How did you? Ben turned, electricity crackling between the plugs on his fingertips. Nice trick. Let me show you one of mine. He sent a controlled electrical discharge toward Shinso, not enough to hurt, but sufficient to stun momentarily. While Shinso recovered, Ben closed the distance between them. Your quirk is impressive, Ben acknowledged. But it has a weakness. Once your control breaks, you need to re-establish it through conversation. Shinso backed away. Figured that out pretty quick. I've faced mind control before, Ben replied, careful not to phrase it as a question. Won't work twice. With a single sweep of his leg, Ben knocked Shinso off his feet, then pinned him with a foot to the chest. Yield, Ben suggested. You're outmatched physically. Shinso glared up at him. Why don't you just transform into something stronger and throw me out of bounds? Show off like the rest of the hero course. Because this is enough, Ben replied simply. You've got a powerful quirk, Shinso. But a tournament isn't just about quirks, it's about adaptability. After a moment, Shinso sighed. I surrender. Shinso surrenders. Midnight announced. Tennyson advances. As Ben helped Shinso to his feet, the general studies student looked at him curiously. You could have embarrassed me. Made a spectacle. Why didn't you? Not my style, Ben shrugged. Besides, mind control is seriously useful for hero work. Subduing villains without violence. That's high-tier heroism. Shinso seemed startled by this perspective. The entrance exam doesn't exactly favor non-combat quirks. Then the exam's flawed, Ben replied simply. A hero is more than their powers. As Ben left the arena, he caught Aizawa watching him with what might have been approval in his normally exhausted eyes. The tournament progressed with intensity. Midoriya narrowly defeated Shinso through sheer willpower. Todoroki dominated his matches with overwhelming ice power. Bakugo fought with controlled fury, advancing steadily. Ben's second match pitted him against Tokoyami, whose sentient shadow quirk, Dark Shadow, provided both offense and defense. This time, Ben transformed immediately into Heat Blast, knowing light and heat weakened Dark Shadow's capabilities. The match was challenging but straightforward. Tokoyami fought valiantly, but the elemental disadvantage proved too great. In the semi-finals, Ben faced Bakugo in what the audience anticipated as an explosive confrontation. Bakugo entered the arena with deadly focus, palms already smoking. "No holding back, American," he demanded. "I want your best shot." "Careful what you wish for," Ben replied, activating the Omnitrix. He transformed into Chromastone, a crystalline alien capable of absorbing and redirecting energy, perfect for countering Bakugo's explosions. "Another new form?" Bakugo growled. "How many do you have?" "Enough to keep things interesting," Ben replied, the crystal facets of his body catching the sunlight. The match began with Bakugo's signature opening, a massive right hook enhanced by an explosion. Ben took the hit directly, his crystalline body absorbing the concussive force and heat. "Thanks for the energy boost," Ben quipped, redirecting the absorbed power as a rainbow-colored beam that forced Bakugo to dodge. "Don't mock me." Bakugo roared, unleashing a barrage of explosions from both hands. Ben absorbed each blast, growing stronger with each impact. Bakugo, realizing his attacks were counterproductive, shifted tactics. He used explosions for mobility instead, circling Ben with increasing speed. "Smart," Ben acknowledged, tracking Bakugo's movements. "Can't absorb what doesn't hit me." Bakugo grinned ferally. "Figured that out, did you? How about this?" He launched himself high into the air, then spun rapidly, creating a tornado-like vortex with explosions, his howitzer impact technique. The attack descended toward Ben with devastating force. Instead of dodging, Ben stood his ground, bracing for impact. He transformed into feedback at the last second, absorbing the explosive energy directly into his body. "Two can play the absorption game," Ben announced, his body crackling with stored power. Before Bakugo could recover, Ben redirected the energy into the ground beneath Bakugo's feet, creating a localized shockwave that launched the explosive student into the air. As Bakugo fell, Ben transformed into 4 arms, leaped up, and caught him. Landing firmly in bounds, 4 arms held a struggling Bakugo aloft with 2 arms while the other 2 remained ready to counter any explosions. "Put me down," Bakugo demanded, creating blasts against Ben's chest. "Not until you yield," Ben replied calmly, enduring the explosions. "You're out of options, Bakugo." "Never." Bakugo struggled harder, his explosions growing more intense with his fury. Ben sighed. "Have it your way." He walked deliberately to the boundary and held Bakugo over the line. "Midnight Sensei, does this count as out of bounds?" "It does." Midnight confirmed. Bakugo is out of bounds. Tennyson advances to the finals. "This isn't over." Bakugo shouted as Ben set him down outside the ring. "You didn't beat me. You just outsmarted me. Isn't that the same thing?" Ben asked innocently, returning to human form. Bakugo stormed off, explosion-powered profanities trailing behind him. The crowd roared their approval at the spectacular match. The other semi-finals saw Todoroki facing Midoriya in a battle that shook the stadium, literally. Midoriya's tremendous strength against Todoroki's ice created shockwaves that required Cementosa's intervention multiple times. Most shocking was Midoriya somehow convincing Todoroki to use his fire side for the first time in public competition. The resulting temperature extremes created steam explosions that ultimately left both competitors severely injured. Todoroki emerged victorious, but barely able to stand. Medical robots rushed Midoriya away on a stretcher, his arms heavily damaged from overusing his quirk. As Todoroki limped from the arena, recovery girl announced a 30-minute break before the final match to allow for treatment. In the waiting room, Ben found Todoroki sitting alone, his right side covered in ice packs, his left in cooling gel. "Hey," Ben greeted quietly. "You okay?" Todoroki looked up, exhaustion evident in his mismatched eyes. "Physically or emotionally?" "Both, I guess." "I used my left side," Todoroki stated, staring at his fire hand. "After years of refusal, because of what Midoriya said." "What did he say?" "That it was my power, not my father's." Todoroki's voice was barely above a whisper. "My fire, my choice how to use it." Ben sat opposite him. "He's right. Powers don't define us, how we use them does." "You wouldn't understand," Todoroki replied. "Your quirk isn't tainted by family legacy." Ben almost laughed at the irony. If only Todoroki knew the Omnitrix's legacy, how many beings across the galaxy had sought it, fought over it, died for it. "More than you might think," Ben said instead. "But that's a conversation for another time. Right now, we've got a final to fight." Todoroki nodded, determination returning to his eyes. "Don't expect me to hold back. Not anymore. I wouldn't have it any other way." The final match of the UA Sports Festival drew the largest television audience in the event's history. The explosive Bakugo matches, Midoriya's self-destructive determination, and Todoroki's dramatic use of his full power had captivated viewers nationwide. Now, Ben Tennyson, the mysterious American exchange student with seemingly limitless transformation abilities, faced Shoto Todoroki, son of the number 2 hero and master of ice and fire. The moment we've all been waiting for. Present mic announced as both competitors took the stage. Todoroki vs. Tennyson. Ice and fire against unlimited transformation. Who will emerge victorious? Ben and Todoroki faced each other across the platform, both determined, neither willing to yield. "No matter what happens," Ben said just loud enough for Todoroki to hear, "thanks for pushing me to do my best." Todoroki nodded. "Likewise. Begin." Midnight announced. Todoroki didn't hesitate, unleashing a massive ice attack that threatened to engulf the entire arena. Simultaneously, flames erupted from his left side, creating a fire-ice combination of devastating potential. Ben slammed down the Omnitrix dial, transforming into NRG, a radioactive alien encased in nearly indestructible armor. The ice shattered against NRG's armored exterior while the heat was absorbed harmlessly. "Impressive opening," Ben commented, his voice echoing metallically through his suit's grill. "But temperature extremes won't work on this form." He advanced steadily through Todoroki's continued ice assault, melting a path with radiated heat. When he reached striking distance, Ben unleashed a concentrated heat beam that forced Todoroki to create an ice shield. The shield evaporated instantly, steam filling the arena. Through the mist, Todoroki created ice platforms to gain height advantage, then launched a combined attack, ice spears surrounded by fire that rained down from above. Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol, transforming into Goop, an amorphous alien whose body could separate and reform at will. The ice-fire spears passed harmlessly through his liquid form. "You can't hit what you can't solidify," Ben called out, extending his gelatinous body upward to engulf Todoroki's platform. Todoroki responded by flash-freezing portions of Goop's body while superheating others, creating a temperature differential that temporarily disrupted Ben's cohesion. Todoroki used the opening to leap clear, creating an ice slide to return to the arena floor. "You've improved your technique," Ben observed, reforming his body. "And you keep revealing new forms," Todoroki replied, breathing heavily but still combat-ready. "Let's end this directly." He planted his feet firmly, right hand forward for ice, left hand back for fire, and unleashed his full power simultaneously. The resulting blast created a swirling vortex of flame-infused ice shards, beautiful, deadly, and impossible to dodge. Ben transformed again, this time into Automix, one of his most powerful aliens. A hulking, humanoid reactor capable of tremendous energy manipulation. HMNA HMNA HMNA. Automix chanted, generating a nuclear energy field that stopped Todoroki's attack midair. The ice melted, the fire dissipated, leaving nothing but steam between them. Nuclear winner. Automix announced, channeling energy to his fists. With precise control, he struck the ground before Todoroki, creating a shockwave that launched the dual-quirk user skyward. Before Todoroki could recover, Ben leaped up, caught him midair, and landed firmly in bounds while holding Todoroki over the boundary line. Match. Midnight declared. Todoroki is out of bounds. Tennyson wins the tournament. The crowd erupted in cheers as Ben gently set Todoroki down and returned to human form. That form, Todoroki said, eyes wide with realization. You could have ended our match instantly with that power level. Ben shrugged. Wouldn't have been much of a final then, would it? You held back. So did you, at first, Ben countered. We both gave it our best shot in the end. That's what matters. Todoroki studied him for a moment, then extended his hand, his left hand, still warm from flames. Congratulations, Tennyson. Ben shook it firmly. Thanks for the challenge, Todoroki. The award ceremony followed, with All Might himself presenting the medals. Todoroki took silver, while Bakugo and Tokoyami shared bronze, though Bakugo had to be restrained and muzzled due to his protests about settling for third place. When All Might placed the gold medal around Ben's neck, he leaned in close. Well fought, young Tennyson, he said quietly. Strategic, controlled, respectful of your opponents. True hero qualities. Thanks, Ben replied, genuinely touched by the praise. That means a lot. As the ceremony concluded and spectators began filing out, Ben caught a glimpse of something in the top row of the stadium, a brief purple crystalline reflection that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Tetrax had been watching, as expected. Let the games begin, Ben murmured to himself as fireworks exploded overhead, celebrating the conclusion of UA's sports festival. That evening, as students celebrated or recovered from the day's events, Ben found himself summoned to Principal Nizu's office. There, he discovered not just Nizu, but All Might, Aizawa, and a detective named Tsukachi waiting. Congratulations on your victory, Nizu began once Ben was seated. Most impressive. Thanks, Ben replied cautiously, sensing this wasn't a social call. But I'm guessing you didn't bring me here to discuss the tournament. Perceptive as always, Nizu nodded. We've received concerning intelligence. Tetrax was indeed present today, observing the festival from various locations. I spotted him briefly at the end, Ben confirmed. What troubles us, Tsukachi continued, is that he wasn't alone. Our surveillance captured him meeting with members of the League of Villains during the event. Ben straightened. They're working together. It appears so, All Might confirmed grimly. And based on intercepted communications, they're planning something significant, potentially targeting UA students directly. Specifically, Aizawa added, targeting you and your classmates. Why would the League care about me? Ben asked. I mean, besides the obvious, stopping their attack at USJ. We believe Tetrax has convinced them your device is key to their ambitions, Nizu explained. The League's leader, this Shigaraki, seems particularly interested in what he calls dimensional capabilities. He wants the Omnitrix, Ben realized. To travel between dimensions at will. Which would allow the League to escape hero pursuit indefinitely, Tsukachi nodded. A concerning prospect. So what's our next move? Ben asked. I'm not just going to sit around waiting for them to make a play. The adults exchanged glances. We've come to a decision, Nizu announced. It's time to brief select students about your true situation. Class 1A has already faced villains directly. They deserve to know what, and who, they might be protecting. You want me to tell them everything? Ben asked incredulously. The Omnitrix, aliens, different dimensions, everything? Not everyone, Aizawa clarified. Start with those you trust most. Midoriya, Todoroki, Ida, perhaps Uraraka. Students who have demonstrated both capability and discretion. Ben considered this. Keeping his identity secret had been instinctual, ingrained after years of covert heroism. But this wasn't his world, and these weren't ordinary classmates, they were heroes in training who had already faced life-threatening danger. All right, he agreed finally. I'll tell them. But on my terms. Of course, Nizu nodded. We simply ask that you do so soon. The League rarely delays action once a plan is formed. As Ben left the meeting, his mind raced with implications. Revealing his true nature would change everything, his relationships with classmates, his role at UA, perhaps even his path home. But one thing was certain, whatever Tetrax and the League were planning, they wouldn't face just Ben Tennyson anymore. They'd face Ben and his new teammates, young heroes who had already proven their courage under fire. And that, Ben decided, might make all the difference. Chapter 3, Heroes United. Ben stood outside the dorm common room, heart hammering. 5 students waited inside, Midoriya, Todoroki, Ida, Uraraka, and, surprisingly, Bakugo. Getting Bakugo to join had been Aizawa's idea. His combat instincts are unmatched, the teacher had said. And if trouble comes, you'll want him fighting with you, not against you. Ben took a deep breath. After years of secret identities and covert operations, deliberately revealing the truth felt wrong. But Nizu was right, these weren't just random classmates. They were heroes who deserved to know what they might face. Here goes everything, he muttered, pushing the door open. The 5 students sat in a loose semicircle, their expressions ranging from Midoriya's eager curiosity to Bakugo's suspicious glare. Thanks for coming, Ben began, closing the door behind him. This better be important, American, Bakugo growled. I'm missing training for this. It is, Ben assured him. What I'm about to tell you, it changes everything you think you know about me. You're not really an exchange student, Todoroki stated matter-of-factly. That much has been obvious. No, I'm not, Ben confirmed. I'm not even from this world. Uraraka tilted her head. What, like, you're an alien? No. Well, sort of, Ben rubbed the back of his neck. I'm human, but not from your Earth. I'm from a parallel dimension. Another reality altogether. Silence fell over the room. Ida adjusted his glasses mechanically. Midoriya's mouth hung slightly open. Bakugo looked like he was trying to decide whether to laugh or explode. That's quite a claim, Ida managed finally. I know how it sounds, Ben nodded. So I'll show you. He activated the Omnitrix, causing the familiar holographic display to appear. This isn't a quirk. It's technology. Alien technology from my universe called the Omnitrix. An extraterrestrial support item. Midoriya leaned forward, eyes wide. More than that, Ben explained. It contains DNA samples from thousands of different alien species. When I activate it, I can literally transform into those aliens, gaining all their abilities and instincts. Bullshit, Bakugo spat. You're just trying to sound special. It's a transformation quirk. If it were a quirk, Aizawa-sensei could erase it, Todoroki pointed out. Has he ever tried during training? Bakugo's eyes widened slightly as realization struck. He has, Ben confirmed. Multiple times. Didn't work because it's not a quirk, it's technology rewriting my DNA temporarily. That would explain the complete biological restructuring with each transformation, Midoriya muttered, already scribbling notes. The energy signature is consistent but the manifestation's completely variable. So you're from another world, Uraraka said slowly, trying to process. How did you get here? Why UA? I was fighting a villain, we call them that in my world too, who had dimensional powers, Ben explained. He opened a portal, and I got pulled through. Ended up in Muzutafu with no way home. UA took me in while I figure out how to get back. And the crystal villain from USJ? Todoroki asked sharply. He's from your world too. Ben nodded. His name is Tetrax. He's a Petrosapien, the same species as my diamond-head form. He's some kind of dimensional collector, and he's after the Omnitrix. Which explains why you've been holding back in training, Ida realized. You didn't want to reveal your full capabilities in case he was watching. Why tell us now? Bakugo demanded, unusually serious. Because Tetrax has allied with the League of Villains, Ben replied grimly. They're planning something big, and they're targeting Class 1A, specifically me, but potentially all of you as well. That got their attention. Even Bakugo straightened, explosive hands clenched into fists. I thought you should know the truth about what, and who, we're up against, Ben continued. These aren't just local villains anymore. Tetrax has technology that could tear holes between dimensions. If the League gets that power, they could escape to other worlds, Midoriya finished, face pale. Strike from anywhere, disappear without a trace. Exactly. So what's the plan? Bakugo asked, surprising everyone with his immediate acceptance of the situation. When they stared, he scoffed. What? You think I can't handle the truth? Dimension-hopping villains, alien watches, I don't care where the fight comes from. I just want to know how we win. Ben couldn't help smiling. That's, actually the attitude I was hoping for. UA's teachers are increasing security, Ida noted. But that hasn't stopped villains before. We need to be proactive, Todoroki suggested. If they're targeting Ben specifically, we should prepare countermeasures. First, I need to know if you all believe me, Ben said, looking around the room. This is a lot to take in, and we can't work together if you're doubting every word I say. Midoriya stood first. I believe you, Tennyson. Your transformations always had a different quality than quirks, more complete, more varied. It makes sense now. The evidence supports your claim, Todoroki nodded. And explains discrepancies in your background. I too accept your explanation, Ida declared with characteristic formality. As bizarre as interdimensional travel sounds, we've witnessed stranger things since joining UA. If Deku believes you, so do I, Uraraka added with a determined smile. All eyes turned to Bakugo, who had been uncharacteristically quiet. What? He snapped. Fine, I believe the alien watch crap. Doesn't change anything. You're still not beating me next time we fight. A feral grin spread across his face. But first, let's blow these League losers to hell. Ben let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Good. Because I need to show you what we're really dealing with. He activated the Omnitrix again. Some of my transformations you've seen. Others, well, they're a bit more extreme. He selected an alien form none of them had witnessed before and slammed down the dial. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into Humongosaur, a 12-foot-tall dinosaur-like being with tremendous strength. This is Humongosaur, Ben's voice rumbled deeper than before. One of my heavy hitters. The students stared in awe, even Bakugo momentarily speechless. How strong is this form? Midoriya asked, scientific curiosity overriding his shock. I can lift about 70 tons in this size, Ben replied. And I can grow up to 60 feet tall if needed. 60 feet. Uraraka exclaimed. That exceeds All Might's demonstrated strength capacity, Midoriya muttered, furiously taking notes. Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming again. This time he became Ghost Freak, a phantom-like alien that hovered above the floor, single eye gleaming. Ghost Freak, he introduced himself in an eerie, echoing voice. Intangibility, invisibility, possession. Another flash of green, and Ben stood as Big Chill, the moth-like alien with ice powers and phasing abilities. Big Chill. Ice generation, flight, intangibility. Transform after transform, Ben demonstrated aliens they hadn't seen, Swampfire's plant manipulation and regeneration, Gravitax's gravity control, Lodestar's magnetism, Amphibian's electricity, and finally, Alien X, a humanoid figure covered in stars, resembling a living constellation. "This is Alien X," Ben explained, his voice now resonating with multiple tones simultaneously. "The most powerful transformation I have. Reality manipulation on a cosmic scale. I rarely use it because of complications." He returned to human form, the green flash momentarily blinding his classmates. "Holy shit," Bakugo whispered, for once subdued by the display of power. "So that's what we're up against?" Uraraka asked nervously. "No," Ben clarified. "Tetrax doesn't have transformation abilities. But he does have advanced technology, combat experience, and now, allies in the League. And he understands my powers better than any villain in this world. Which means we need to understand them too," Midoriya concluded, his notebook now filled with hurried sketches and notes. "You've shown us your capabilities, but what are your limitations? Every power has drawbacks." Ben smiled appreciatively at Midoriya's analytical mind. "Smart question. The Omnitrix has a time limit, usually around 10 to 15 minutes before it needs to recharge. When it times out, I'm stuck in human form for a few minutes. A critical vulnerability," Ida noted. "Villains would certainly target that interval. Also, while I have access to a lot of different aliens, I can only be one at a time," Ben continued. "Each form has specific weaknesses. Heat Blast is vulnerable to water. Diamond Head can be shattered by sonic attacks. Big Chill's intangibility doesn't work against certain energy types. And your combat style is primarily reactive," Todoroki observed. "You adapt to opponents rather than overwhelming them immediately." Ben nodded, impressed. "That's exactly right. Back home, I usually try to minimize collateral damage and find the least destructive solution. Which is why you held back against me," Bakugo realized, his eyes narrowing. "You could have flattened me as that dinosaur thing." "I didn't want to hurt anyone," Ben confirmed. "The sports festival was a competition, not a life-or-death battle." "When Tetrax comes," Bakugo growled, "no more holding back. You hit with everything you've got." "Agreed," Todoroki seconded. "This isn't about fair competition anymore. It's about protecting our world from interdimensional threats." The seriousness in their faces struck Ben deeply. These weren't just classmates anymore, they were allies, teammates, fellow heroes ready to stand against whatever came. "Thank you," Ben said sincerely. "All of you. I wasn't sure how you'd react to all this." "We're UA students," Midoriya reminded him with a determined smile. "Future heroes. Weird is kind of our thing now." "So what's the plan?" Uraraka asked. Ben moved to a table where he'd laid out several papers. "First, you need to understand what each of my major transformations can do, strengths, weaknesses, tactical applications. Then we need to figure out how your quirks can complement them." Ida adjusted his glasses. "A coordinated defense strategy. Excellent thinking. We should bring in a few others," Todoroki suggested. "Yaoyorozu's creation quirk would be invaluable for tactical equipment. Tokoyami's Dark Shadow provides versatile combat support." "Let's start with the 6 of us," Ben advised. "Too many people knowing increases the risk of leaks." For the next 3 hours, they strategized. Midoriya's analytical mind proved invaluable in identifying optimal alien quirk combinations. Todoroki suggested environmental tactics. Ida developed evacuation procedures. Uraraka proposed microgravity combat techniques. Even Bakugo contributed explosive distraction patterns that complemented Ben's transformations. By the time they finished, they had the beginnings of a legitimate defense plan. "We should train together," Midoriya suggested as they prepared to disperse. "Practical application of these combinations." "Agreed," Ben nodded. But discreetly. We don't want to tip off Tetrax that we're preparing specifically for him. As the meeting concluded, Todoroki lingered behind. There's something you didn't tell us, he stated once they were alone. Ben sighed. What gave me away? Your expression when discussing getting home, Todoroki replied. You're not certain you can, are you? No, Ben admitted. Tetrax seems to be the only one with reliable dimensional travel technology. And I'm not exactly on friendly terms with him. What will you do if you can't return? Ben hadn't allowed himself to consider that possibility fully. I guess, continue at UA. Become a hero here. Keep looking for a way back. Todoroki nodded thoughtfully. For what it's worth, you've earned your place here, interdimensional visitor or not. Your approach to heroism, it's different. Refreshing. Coming from the usually stoic Todoroki, this was high praise indeed. Thanks, Ben replied sincerely. That means a lot. As Todoroki left, Ben stared out the window at the UA campus bathed in evening light. For the first time since arriving in this dimension, he felt less like a stranger and more like part of something. These students, his friends, had accepted his bizarre story without hesitation and immediately rallied to help. Whatever Tetrax and the League were planning, they'd face not just Ben Tennyson, but the combined might of UA's most promising heroes in training. News of Ben's sports festival victory spread through Hero Society rapidly. The American exchange student with the extraordinarily versatile quirk became something of a minor celebrity. Support companies sent equipment offers. Hero agencies expressed interest in future internships. Media outlets requested interviews. UA's staff intercepted most of these, maintaining the exchange student cover story while allowing Ben to focus on training and preparation. 3 days after revealing his identity to his classmates, normal lessons resumed. Class 1A continued hero studies, now with preparation for upcoming internships. The 5 students who knew Ben's secret maintained perfect discretion, though Bakugo occasionally shot him meaningful glares during transformation exercises. After classes, Ben's small team gathered for specialized training sessions disguised as general quirk practice. Aizawa, now privy to the full situation, provided them with access to remote facilities where they could work without observation. The key is coordinated response, Ben explained during one such session. Tetrax will expect me to transform, but he won't expect you all to have strategies built around each alien. I've been analyzing potential combinations, Midoriya demonstrated, unfolding an elaborate chart. For instance, Bakugo's explosions combined with heat blast create a superheated plasma effect. Todoroki's ice with big chill produces extreme temperature drops that could immobilize even temperature-resistant opponents. Nerd, Bakugo muttered, but studied the chart with surprising intensity. They practiced specific formations, Uraraka making rubble weightless for Ben's 4 arms to throw with devastating force, Ida creating high-speed extraction paths for Ben's more vulnerable forms, Todoroki and Ben's heat blast creating controlled fire corridors to channel opponents. After a particularly successful combination, Bakugo's howitzer impact synchronized with Ben's chromostone energy absorption and redirection, even Aizawa seemed impressed. Your teamwork is improving, he acknowledged. But remember, villains don't follow training scenarios. Adaptability remains essential. That's why we're developing modular tactics, Ida explained. Components that work regardless of specific battlefield conditions. Aizawa nodded approvingly. Smart approach. As they packed up after training, Midoriya approached Ben privately. Can I ask you something personal? Sure, Ben replied, toweling sweat from his face. In your world, are you famous? As a hero, I mean. Ben considered the question. In some circles. The plumbers, intergalactic peacekeepers I work with, know me pretty well. Most humans don't know about aliens, so my identity stays mostly secret on Earth. But you've been doing this since you were 10, Midoriya pressed. Saving people, fighting villains. Yeah, Ben confirmed. Though it started more as an adventure than a responsibility. I was just a kid who found a cool alien watch. Midoriya's expression turned wistful. I always wanted to be a hero, but I was born quirkless. I only received my power recently, and I'm still learning to control it. That explains the self-destruction when you use it, Ben realized. It's new to your body. Midoriya nodded. All Might is helping me master it, but compared to everyone else, especially you, I'm still playing catch-up. Hey, Ben placed a hand on Midoriya's shoulder. I've had the Omnitrix for 5 years, and I'm still figuring it out. Some of my best aliens I discovered by accident. Learning is part of the journey. How do you handle the pressure? Midoriya asked earnestly. Knowing people depend on you. Ben thought about his own journey, from irresponsible kid to reluctant hero to someone who willingly carried the weight of protecting others. One day at a time, he answered honestly. You make mistakes. You learn from them. You do better next time. That's all anyone can ask, even from heroes. Midoriya seemed to take this to heart. Thanks, Tennyson. Call me Ben, he replied with a smile. We're teammates now, right? The green-haired boy's face lit up. Right. A week passed without incident. Ben began to wonder if the intelligence about Tetrax and the League had been mistaken, or if their plans had changed. The relative calm allowed him to focus on integrating more fully into UA life, attending classes, participating in additional training, even joining occasional social activities with classmates. During one such gathering, a movie night in the common room, Ben found himself surrounded by students who remained unaware of his true nature. American movies are so different, Ashido, the pink-skinned girl, commented as they watched an action film. The heroes always work alone. In Japan, team-ups are more common. That's true in America too, sometimes, Ben replied, thinking of his own team-ups with Gwen and Kevin. Depends on the hero's style. Which do you prefer, Tennyson? Kirishima asked. Solo heroics or team operations? Ben considered the question, aware that Midoriya, Uraraka, and Todoroki were listening with deeper understanding than the others. Both have advantages, he answered carefully. Solo work lets you move fast, make decisions without consultation. But teams bring diverse abilities, perspectives, and backup when you need it most. Well said, Yaoyorozu nodded approvingly. Strategic flexibility is essential for professional heroes. The evening continued pleasantly until Ben's phone buzzed with a message from Principal Nizu, security office. Immediately. Ben excused himself, meeting Midoriya's questioning gaze with a subtle nod. As arranged, if Ben received such a message, Midoriya would alert the others discreetly. In the security office, Ben found Nizu, Aizawa, and Detective Tsukachi gathered around multiple monitors. What's happened? Ben asked immediately. We've detected energy signatures consistent with dimensional rifts, Tsukachi explained, pointing to fluctuating readings on one screen. 3 locations around the city, all activated within the last hour. Tetrax, Ben confirmed grimly. What are the locations? Nizu manipulated the display, showing a map with 3 blinking points. A support item development facility, an abandoned subway station, and, most concerning, the shopping district near UA. The shopping district? Ben's brow furrowed. Why there? The other locations make sense for technology theft, but a civilian area. Bait, Aizawa stated flatly. They're trying to draw you out. Or create a distraction, Tsukachi suggested. Multiple simultaneous incidents will stretch hero response thin. Which is exactly what they want, Ben realized. Classic divide and conquer. We've mobilized available pro-heroes, Nizu assured him. But given the dimensional nature of these incidents, your expertise is essential. What about UA security? Ben asked. If they're creating diversions, the school could be their real target. Already enhanced, Aizawa confirmed. Additional pro-heroes are stationed on campus, and all students have been instructed to remain in dorms. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through alien options. I should check these sites personally. XLR-8 can reach all 3 locations quickly. Too dangerous alone, Aizawa countered. These could be traps specifically designed for you. Which is why I won't be alone, Ben replied. I need my team. Minutes later, Ben briefed the 5 students in an empty classroom, Aizawa standing guard at the door. Multiple dimensional rifts have opened across the city, Ben explained rapidly. We think it's Tetrax and the League making their move. Finally, Bakugo cracked his knuckles eagerly. Let's blow these extra-dimensional losers back where they came from. It's not that simple, Ben cautioned. We need to assess the situation first. 3 locations need investigation, but we can't leave UA completely undefended. We should split into teams, Ida suggested. Maximum coverage while maintaining tactical strength at each position. Exactly, Ben nodded. Midoriya and Uraraka, you're with me at the shopping district, that's likely their primary target. Bakugo and Todoroki, check the support facility. Ida, you're our fastest, scout the subway station but don't engage alone. What about official authorization? Todoroki asked practically. Students operating independently would violate regulations. Nizu has granted provisional emergency authorization, Aizawa informed them. Given the circumstances. But exercise extreme caution. Observation and reporting are your priorities, not engagement. Unless engagement becomes necessary, Ben added. Use your judgment, but stay safe. They synchronized watches and communication devices Yaoyorozu had created during previous training sessions, specialized earpieces resistant to signal jamming. Remember your training, Ben told them as they prepared to move out. These aren't ordinary villains. If you see Tetrax, do not engage directly without backup. We've got this, Midoriya assured him with determined confidence. As they left UA grounds through a secure exit, Ben transformed into XLR-8, his black and blue speedster form ready for action. Bakugo, Todoroki, I'll drop you near the support facility, he explained, voice slightly mechanical through XLR-8's visor. Ida, you can reach the subway with your engines? Affirmative, Ida confirmed, engines already warming up. Midoriya, Uraraka, hold on tight, Ben instructed. Each grabbed one of his shoulders as he prepared to run. This might feel a little strange the first time. In a blur of motion, XLR-8 shot forward, the world stretching into streaks of color around them. Bakugo and Todoroki were deposited at their destination within seconds, then Ben raced toward the shopping district with Midoriya and Uraraka still holding on. When they finally stopped, both UA students looked disoriented. That was. Uraraka wobbled slightly, intense. You get used to it, Ben assured her, scanning the shopping district. The normally bustling area was eerily empty, police having evacuated civilians after detecting unusual energy readings. No visible rifts, Midoriya observed, quickly regaining his composure. But the energy signature is strongest here according to the detection equipment. Ben touched the Omnitrix symbol, transforming into Wild Mutt, the orange, eyeless alien with enhanced senses. Though unable to speak in this form, he could track energy signatures through smell and specialized sensory organs. He sniffed the air, then growled, pointing toward a specific building, a large electronics store at the district's center. In there? Midoriya confirmed, receiving an affirmative grunt from Ben. Uraraka activated her quirk on herself. I'll check from above. Might see something through the skylights. As she floated upward, Midoriya and Ben approached the store cautiously. Ben's sensitive hearing detected movement inside, multiple individuals, moving with purpose rather than panic. Uraraka's voice came through their earpieces. Visual confirmation of 5, no, 6 figures inside. One appears crystalline, purple coloration. Others wearing dark clothing with hand symbols. League of Villains. Tetrax and League members, Midoriya whispered. What are they doing? Ben transformed back to human form momentarily. Setting up something. Probably dimensional technology. We need to. His words were cut short as a swirling purple vortex opened directly in front of them, and a familiar crystalline figure stepped through. Ben Tennyson, Tetrax greeted coldly. Right on schedule. Ben immediately reached for the Omnitrix, but Tetrax was faster. A crystalline projectile shot from his hand, wrapping around Ben's wrist and temporarily blocking access to the device. Predictable as always, Tetrax commented. Rushing in without assessing the situation properly. Tennyson. Midoriya moved to help, green lightning crackling around his body as he activated full cowling. I wouldn't, Tetrax warned, producing a small device. This area is rigged with dimensional destabilizers. One wrong move and parts of this district phase permanently into the void between realities. Midoriya froze, eyes widening. What do you want, Tetrax? Ben demanded, struggling against the crystal restraint. What I've always wanted, Tetrax replied matter-of-factly. The Omnitrix. Though I admit, my methods have evolved. Originally, I planned simple acquisition, until I realized this world's potential. What potential? Ben asked, stalling while trying to free his wrist. Tetrax gestured expansively. A world where superpowers are commonplace yet dimensional technology is non-existent. Do you realize what that means? An entire reality ripe for exploration, exploitation, and eventually, colonization. You want to colonize this dimension? Midoriya asked in horror. Why not? Tetrax shrugged. Your quirks provide fascinating genetic material. Your villains make excellent collaborators. And your heroes, while impressive, are entirely unprepared for extradimensional threats. Ben finally managed to angle his wrist enough to access the Omnitrix. Yeah, about that. You missed something important about this world's heroes. And what's that? Tetrax asked condescendingly. They adapt really quickly, Ben grinned, slapping down the Omnitrix dial. In a flash of green light, he transformed into Humungosaur, the massive dinosaur-like alien strength easily shattering the crystal restraint. Simultaneously, Uraraka dropped from above, touching falling debris and activating her quirk to create a barrage of weightless projectiles that forced Tetrax to dodge. Clever, Tetrax acknowledged, morphing his hands into crystal blades. But insufficient. Before he could attack, Midoriya launched forward with incredible speed, landing a Delaware smash directly to Tetrax's chest. The crystalline villain skidded backward but remained upright, his crystalline body absorbing much of the impact. Impressive strength, boy, Tetrax noted. But Petrosapiens are notoriously difficult to damage through blunt force. Ben charged forward, Humungosaur's massive form shaking the ground. Then let's try something sharper. He swung a powerful fist, but Tetrax created a crystal shield that deflected the blow. The impact still sent him crashing through the electronics store window, directly into the midst of the League members inside. Perfect, Ben transformed again, this time into Diamond Head. Let's fight crystal with crystal. He leaped through the shattered window, Midoriya and Uraraka following close behind. Inside, they found Tetrax already regrouping with the League members, Shigaraki, the warp villain Kurogiri, and several others Ben didn't recognize. You've brought friends, Shigaraki observed, scratching his neck nervously. How inconvenient. In the center of the store, a large device hummed with energy, creating small, unstable rifts that flickered around it. That's a dimensional oscillator, Ben recognized the technology immediately. You're trying to create a permanent gateway. Very good, Tetrax applauded mockingly. Yes, a stable connection between dimensions would be quite valuable. Especially to those seeking to escape this world's heroes. We had a deal, Shigaraki reminded Tetrax. The League gets passage first. Of course, Tetrax agreed smoothly. After I secure the Omnitrix. Ben's communicator suddenly activated. Bakugo's voice came through, sounding unusually urgent. Tennyson. The support facility was a setup. Its static interrupted the transmission. Ah, your other teams have encountered our diversions, Tetrax noted with satisfaction. The League has been quite helpful in arranging appropriate welcomes. What did you do? Ben demanded. Nothing permanent. Yet. Tetrax gestured to the oscillator. This is merely the first of many portals we intend to open. Imagine villains with access to infinite escape routes, infinite worlds to plunder. The era of heroes would effectively end. Not happening, Ben declared, morphing his diamond hands into blades. I was hoping you'd resist, Tetrax smiled coldly. Shigaraki, would you demonstrate your quirk for our interdimensional visitor? The hand-covered villain lunged forward with surprising speed, reaching for Midoriya. Ben remembered his decaying touch from the USJ incident and moved to intercept, but Kurogyri opened a warp gate, redirecting Ben's momentum away from Shigaraki. Midoriya dodged at the last second, full cowling providing just enough speed to evade Shigaraki's fingers. Annoying brat, Shigaraki hissed. Uraraka touched several fallen electronic devices, making them weightless before sending them flying toward the League members with a gesture. The improvised projectiles created enough distraction for Midoriya to land another powerful blow, this time against Kurogyri's metal neck brace, the only solid part of the warp villain. The device. Ben called out, pointing to the oscillator. We need to disable it before the portal stabilizes. Tetrax intercepted him, crystal formations erupting from the floor to block his path. I don't think so, Tennyson. That technology took considerable effort to acquire and assemble. Then I'll just have to take it apart, Ben replied, slamming the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. He transformed into Upgrade, the liquid metal alien perfectly suited for technology manipulation. Before Tetrax could react, Ben flowed around his crystal barricade and merged with the oscillator. No! Tetrax shouted, realizing Ben's intention. From within the machine, Ben could see its inner workings, advanced technology cobbled together from multiple sources, some from this dimension, others clearly alien. As Upgrade, he began rewriting its programming, disrupting power flow, and corrupting stabilization algorithms. The device shuddered as dimensional rifts around it began collapsing. Tetrax fired crystal shards at the merged Ben machine, but Upgrade's liquid metal form simply absorbed and redirected the impacts. Meanwhile, Midoriya and Uraraka fought desperately against the League members, Midoriya's enhanced strength and Uraraka's gravity manipulation creating effective containment tactics. They'd clearly been practicing the combinations Ben had helped them develop during training. Enough of this, Shigaraki growled, frustration evident. Kurogyri, bring in Nomu. The warp villain expanded a portal, and through it emerged a familiar sight, the brain-exposed artificial human that had nearly killed Aizawa at USJ. But this one appeared different, smaller, with exposed muscle tissue glowing faintly green. Ben! Midoriya called out in warning. They've modified Nomu. From inside the oscillator, Ben could see the creature advancing toward his friends. The machine was almost disabled, but he couldn't leave them to face Nomu alone. Modifications courtesy of your dimension's technology, Tetrax explained smugly. Remarkable what a few alien tech samples can do to enhance these artificial humans. Ben made a split-second decision. He detached from the oscillator, leaving it partially corrupted but not completely disabled, and transformed into Heat Blast. Let's see how fire-resistant your new Nomu is, he shouted, unleashing a massive flame blast that engulfed the creature. To his shock, Nomu walked through the flames unharmed, its glowing muscle tissue seemingly absorbing the heat. Adaptive physiology, Tetrax explained. The more you attack, the stronger it becomes. Specifically designed to counter your transformations, Tennyson. Midoriya didn't hesitate. He charged forward, channeling one for all into a focused punch aimed at Nomu's exposed brain. The creature moved with incredible speed, catching Midoriya's fist mid-strike. Deku. Uraraka cried out, touching a fallen support beam and swinging it toward Nomu. The creature caught that too, holding both Midoriya and the beam while appearing completely unfazed. Ben's mind raced. If Nomu adapted to attacks, traditional combat would only make it stronger. He needed something unconventional. Midoriya, Uraraka, switched to formation Delta. Ben called out, transforming again. This time he became gray matter, the tiny but hyper-intelligent Galvan. While seemingly vulnerable, this form's extraordinary intelligence made it perfect for analysis. Midoriya immediately understood, breaking away from Nomu and creating distance while Uraraka used her quirk on herself to gain higher ground. Gray matter scurried between debris, observing Nomu from multiple angles. The glowing muscle tissue, the adaptive physiology, the enhanced speed, all modifications based on alien technology, but implemented with imperfect understanding. Fascinating but flawed, Ben muttered, identifying critical weaknesses. Overclocked cellular regeneration without proper thermal regulation. He scurried up to Midoriya, who had positioned himself defensively. Hit it with your maximum strength, but aim for the glowing tissue specifically. Its adaptations generate excess heat with nowhere to dissipate. Midoriya nodded, green lightning intensifying around his body as he channeled more of One for All. Ready. Uraraka. Ben called up. Gravity shift on my signal. She positioned herself overhead, hands ready. Ben transformed again, this time into Big Chill. He flew directly at Nomu, turning intangible as the creature attempted to grab him. Instead of attacking, he phased partially into Nomu's body, using his cryokinetic powers internally. Freezing it from the inside, Tetrax realized too late. No. Now. Ben shouted to his teammates. Uraraka released her quirk on herself, dropping toward Nomu with perfect timing as Midoriya charged from the opposite direction. At the last second, she reactivated her quirk on Nomu, making it momentarily weightless, just as Midoriya delivered a devastating smash and Ben completed the internal freezing. The combined attack, freezing from within, weightlessness disrupting balance, and immense physical force, overwhelmed Nomu's adaptive capabilities. Its glowing tissue shattered like glass, and the creature collapsed, systems failing as Ben had predicted. Impossible, Shigaraki scratched his neck furiously, drawing blood. That Nomu was designed specifically to counter you. That's your problem, Ben replied, returning to human form. You designed things to counter me alone. But I'm not fighting alone anymore. The momentary victory was short-lived. Tetrax had used the distraction to return to the oscillator, making manual adjustments to compensate for Ben's sabotage. Perhaps you've defeated our prototype, he called out, but it served its purpose. The portal is stabilizing. True to his words, the dimensional rifts around the device were coalescing into a single, growing portal. Through it, Ben could see glimpses of another world, not his own, but somewhere else entirely. We need to shut it down completely. Ben shouted, reaching for the Omnitrix again. Before he could transform, their communicators crackled to life. We've neutralized the subway station threat, Ida reported urgently. Coming to your position. Support facility secured, Bakugo's voice followed, explosions audible in the background. These league losers thought they could ambush us. Big mistake. Additional heroes approaching your location, Aizawa's voice cut in. Hold position. Tetrax surveyed the situation with cold calculation. It seems our timetable has accelerated. Kurogyri, extract the league members. I'll complete the final calculations. The warp villain began creating exit portals for Shigaraki and the other league members. You're just leaving them? Ben asked Tetrax incredulously. Temporary allies of convenience, Tetrax shrugged. This world has many villains. These are merely the first I've recruited. Ben transformed into XLR-8, racing toward the oscillator at superhuman speed. Tetrax anticipated the move, creating a crystal barrier that Ben crashed into, momentarily stunned. Always so predictable, Tennyson, Tetrax sighed, completing final adjustments to the device. While you've been playing school, I've been studying your every move, your every transformation. The portal expanded dramatically, now large enough for a person to walk through. Winds began to whip around the store as atmospheric pressure differentials between dimensions created a powerful vacuum effect. Where does it lead? Ben demanded, regaining his footing. A dimension without heroes, Tetrax replied. The first of many in our colonization network. The League gets a safe haven, I get a base of operations and, soon, the Omnitrix. You still don't have it yet, Ben reminded him. True. But I have something else. Tetrax produced a small device that looked disturbingly like a null-void projector. Insurance. He aimed it at Midoriya and Uraraka, who were helping each other stand after the Nomu battle. This prototype dimensional displacer isn't as precise as I'd like, Tetrax explained casually. Could send them anywhere across the multiverse. Might be pleasant. Might be a dimension of pure fire. Hard to say. Ben froze, calculations racing through his mind. At XLR-8 speed, he might reach either his friends or Tetrax, but not both before the villain fired. The Omnitrix for your friend's safe passage home, Tetrax offered. Seems fair. Before Ben could respond, a massive explosion rocked the building as Bakugo burst through a wall, palms smoking. Surprise, crystal face, he roared, launching himself at Tetrax. The momentary distraction was enough. Ben raced forward, knocking the dimensional displacer from Tetrax's hand. Todoroki entered through the same breach Bakugo had created, immediately sending a wave of ice to secure the oscillator. Your backup has arrived, Ben told Tetrax, circling the villain at super speed. And you're outnumbered. Tetrax smiled coldly. Quality over quantity, Tennyson. He slammed his fist into the ground, creating a crystalline shockwave that forced everyone to dodge. In the confusion, he retrieved the dimensional displacer and fired it at the oscillator. The device vanished instantly, along with a portion of the floor beneath it. No. Ben shouted, realizing what had happened. You sent it between dimensions. Merely relocating assets, Tetrax replied calmly. The oscillator will continue functioning wherever it landed, creating a network of portals beyond your reach. The portal that had been forming began to destabilize without its power source, collapsing inward with increasing force. That's not good, Midoriya realized. Without the oscillator to regulate it. Dimensional collapse, Ben confirmed grimly. We need to evacuate now. And that's my exit cue. Tetrax activated a device on his wrist, opening a personal dimensional rift. Until next time, Tennyson. I'll be watching your progress with interest. You're not going anywhere. Bakugo launched himself forward, explosions propelling him toward the escaping villain. Tetrax casually tossed a crystal sphere that exploded into razor-sharp shards, forcing Bakugo to shield himself instead of attacking. In that moment, Tetrax stepped through his portal, which collapsed immediately behind him. Everyone out, now. Ben shouted as the larger portal began consuming everything around it, furniture, electronics, portions of the building structure. Todoroki created an ice bridge toward the exit while Ida, who had just arrived, began speeding back and forth, evacuating those closest to the collapsing portal first. Ben transformed into Gravitac, using gravity manipulation to slow the portal's consumption rate. I can't hold it long. Move. His teammates didn't need to be told twice. They raced for safety, Bakugo practically dragging Midoriya who wanted to stay and help. The gravitational forces intensified as the portal collapsed further, threatening to pull Ben in despite his powers. With one final effort, he created a gravitational pulse that momentarily reversed the portal's pull, giving himself just enough time to transform into XLR-8 and race out of the building. He emerged at full speed, momentum carrying him across the street as the electronics store imploded behind him. A thunderous boom echoed through the shopping district as the dimensional portal collapsed completely, taking much of the building with it. When the dust settled, a perfect hemispheric section of the store was simply gone, as if someone had taken an enormous ice cream scoop to the structure. "Is everyone okay?" Ben asked, returning to human form and checking his teammates. "All present and accounted for," Ida confirmed, conducting a quick head count. "That was too close," Uraraka breathed, watching as the remainder of the building began to collapse from structural instability. "We lost Tetrax," Bakugo growled, clearly frustrated. "And the League escaped. But we prevented their immediate plan," Todoroki pointed out pragmatically. "And destroyed one of their dimensional devices." "Not destroyed," Ben corrected grimly. "Displaced. It's still out there somewhere, still functioning. And creating portals between dimensions," Midoriya realized, eyes widening. "Without regulation or control." Pro-heroes and police arrived moments later, securing the area and debriefing the UA students. Principal Nizu soon joined them, his small form moving quickly between emergency personnel. "Excellent work, all of you," he commended them quietly. "The other sites have been secured as well. No casualties reported." "But Tetrax escaped," Ben reminded him. "And we have a bigger problem now." He explained about the displaced oscillator and its continued functioning. Nizu's expression grew grave. "Random dimensional portals opening without warning or control. Most concerning. I need to find a way to track them," Ben said. "Before someone innocent stumbles through or something dangerous comes out." "UA will provide whatever resources you need," Nizu assured him. "But first, you all need medical attention and rest. You've done more than enough for today." As they were escorted back to campus, Ben noticed something unexpected, the 5 UA students surrounding him protectively, as if they'd been working together for years rather than days. Midoriya and Uraraka flanked his left, Todoroki and Ida his right, with Bakugo taking rear position. They'd formed a defensive formation instinctively, each watching different angles, covering potential threats. It reminded him powerfully of working with Gwen and Kevin back home. "What?" Bakugo demanded when he noticed Ben's surprised expression. "Nothing," Ben replied with a small smile. "Just, thanks. All of you. Don't get sappy on us, alien boy," Bakugo growled, but without his usual hostility. "We've got more ass to kick tomorrow." "Indeed," Ida agreed more formally. "This battle may be concluded, but the conflict continues. And we'll face it together," Midoriya added with quiet determination. For the first time since arriving in this dimension, Ben felt something he'd been missing, the absolute certainty that came with having a real team at his back. The aftermath of what media dubbed the dimensional incident dominated news cycles for days. Official reports classified it as a villain attack using experimental quirk enhancement technology, with no mention of alternate dimensions or interdimensional travelers. UA implemented further security measures while maintaining normal operations, a demonstration that hero education would continue despite villain threats. Class 1A's involvement was downplayed publicly but recognized within the school community. 3 days after the incident, Ben sat in a specialized laboratory Nizu had arranged, working alongside Power Loader and several support course students to develop dimensional energy detection equipment. "The frequency modulation is still off," Ben noted, adjusting settings on a device that resembled a modified radio. "Interdimensional energy oscillates between specific bandwidths." "Fascinating," Power Loader commented, genuinely impressed. "Your technical knowledge exceeds most pro-heroes, Tennyson." "I've picked up a few things," Ben shrugged, not mentioning that most of it came from transforming into gray matter or brainstorm when needed. "If we can calibrate these detectors properly, we can create an early warning system for portal formation." The support students, including an enthusiastic pink-haired girl named Hatsum who kept calling Ben her dimensional test subject, worked diligently to implement his suggestions. Within hours, they had functional prototypes. "We should install these throughout the city," Ben recommended. "Prioritizing populated areas where portals would cause maximum damage." "Already coordinating with municipal authorities," Nizu assured him, entering the lab. Though I came to inform you of something else. We've detected unusual energy readings at UA itself. Ben straightened immediately. Where? The training grounds. Specifically, Ground Gamma. It's not a fully formed portal, more like dimensional thinning. I need to check it out. Ben was already heading for the door. Your team has been notified, Nizu called after him. They're meeting you there. When Ben arrived at Ground Gamma, his 5 classmates were already present, along with Aizawa and All Might in his powered-up form. What's the situation? Ben asked as he joined them. Dimensional fluctuations began approximately 20 minutes ago, Aizawa explained, gesturing to a section of the industrial training zone where the air seemed to shimmer. No full breach, but the barrier between dimensions appears to be weakening. Is it Tetrax? Midoriya asked, already in his hero costume, as were the others. Unknown, All Might replied. But we're prepared for any eventuality. The rest of UA has been evacuated as a precaution. Ben activated the Omnitrix, transforming into Clockwork, a copper mechanical alien with time manipulation abilities and dimensional sensitivity. This form can sense dimensional anomalies, Ben explained, the key-like protrusion on his head spinning as he analyzed the shimmering area. What he discovered surprised him. This isn't Tetrax's technology. The energy signature is completely different. Another villain? Todoroki asked, ice forming around his right hand in preparation. No, Ben replied slowly, a spark of hope igniting. It's familiar. Almost like. The air split open suddenly, a swirling blue-white portal forming where the shimmer had been. Unlike Tetrax's purple rifts, this one appeared stable, controlled. Through it stepped 3 figures, a teenage girl with red hair and glowing pink energy around her hands, a muscular young man with absorption markings on his arms, and an elderly man in a Hawaiian shirt. Ben transformed back to human form instantly, eyes wide with shock. Gwen. Kevin. Grandpa Max. Ben. Gwen rushed forward, throwing her arms around him. We found you. Kevin followed more casually, though his relief was evident. Took us long enough. Do you know how many dimensions we had to search? Grandpa Max approached with misty eyes, placing a hand on Ben's shoulder. We never gave up looking for you, Ben. Ben's teammates and teachers watched in confusion as the emotional reunion unfolded. Friends of yours, I take it? Aizawa asked dryly. Family, Ben corrected, wiping suspicious moisture from his eyes. From my dimension. How did you find me? After you disappeared, we tracked the dimensional energy signature, Gwen explained. But it fragmented across multiple realities. We've been searching for weeks. Weeks? Ben asked in confusion. I've been here over a month. Time flows differently between dimensions, Grandpa Max explained. For us, you've been missing just under 3 weeks. We finally got a lock on your Omnitrix signature when you used Clockwork near a dimensional weak point, Gwen continued. Created by something called an oscillator. Tetrax, Ben confirmed grimly. He's here in this dimension, working with local villains. That explains the Petrosapien energy signatures we detected, Kevin nodded. Always did think that Crystal Bounty Hunter was sketchy. All Might stepped forward, his imposing figure causing Kevin to tense reflexively. Welcome, visitors from another dimension. All Might greeted with his characteristic enthusiasm. I am All Might, the symbol of peace in this world. Symbol of what now? Kevin muttered. Grandpa Max, ever the diplomat, extended his hand. Maxwell Tennyson, Magister of the Plumbers. Thank you for looking after my grandson. Introductions were made all around, with Midoriya barely containing his excitement at meeting people from another universe. So you can create interdimensional portals, he asked Gwen eagerly. Is that your quirk, I mean, power? I'm an anodite, Gwen explained patiently. I can manipulate mana, life energy, including the threads that connect dimensions. And I absorb and redirect energy and properties, Kevin added, touching a metal railing and coating his arm in steel as demonstration. That's so cool. Midoriya's eyes sparkled with analytical excitement. Amidst the introductions and explanations, Ben found himself experiencing conflicting emotions. Joy at seeing his family again, certainly, but also a strange reluctance. His gaze drifted to his UA teammates who watched the proceedings with mixed expressions. Bakugo maintained his typical scowl, but something like disappointment flickered in his eyes. Todoroki observed with quiet understanding. Ida stood formally at attention, clearly processing the implications. Uraraka attempted a supportive smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. And Midoriya, despite his enthusiasm for the newcomers, kept glancing at Ben with unasked questions. So you can take Ben home now. Uraraka finally voiced what everyone was thinking. That's why we're here, Grandpa Max confirmed. Though Gwen can only maintain the portal temporarily. We'd need to leave soon. But what about Tetrax? Ben asked. And the oscillator? There's still threats to this world. We brought tracking technology, Kevin explained, patting a high-tech backpack. Can locate Petrosapien energy signatures across dimensional boundaries. We can handle Tetrax from our side. And seal any portals he's created, Gwen added. Though it will take time. Ben looked around at the training ground, at UA in the distance, at the faces of those who had become his friends and allies over the past month. The opportunity to return home had finally arrived, yet he felt unexpectedly torn. Could you give us a minute? He asked his family. Understanding dawned in Grandpa Max's eyes. He nodded, leading Gwen and Kevin a short distance away to speak with the teachers. Ben turned to his 5 classmates. So, this is it, I guess. You're leaving, Todoroki stated simply, neither question nor accusation. I have to, Ben replied. It's my home, my family. Of course you do. Midoriya said quickly, too quickly. You've been trying to get back this whole time. We understand. Yeah, Uraraka agreed with forced brightness. And now you can. Ida adjusted his glasses. While your presence at UA will certainly be missed, reunion with your family is the optimal outcome of this situation. Only Bakugo remained silent, arms crossed, expression unreadable. What about you, Explosion Boy? Ben prompted. No snappy comment about getting rid of the alien competition. Bakugo's crimson eyes met Ben's directly. You're running away before our rematch. That's what you're concerned about? Ben couldn't help laughing. You held back in the sports festival, Bakugo stated flatly. I want a real fight. Maybe someday, Ben promised. Dimensional travel works both ways. An awkward silence fell over the group, heavy with unspoken sentiments. Listen, Ben said finally. I want to thank you all. When I first arrived here, I was completely alone, trying to blend in until I could find a way home. But you guys, you became more than classmates. You became friends. Real ones. Sappy till the end, Bakugo muttered, but the usual venom was missing from his voice. Midoriya stepped forward, extending his hand. UA Class 1A will always count you as one of our own, Ben Tennyson. No matter what dimension you're in. Ben clasped Midoriya's hand firmly, then found himself pulled into an unexpected group hug as Uraraka joined in, followed by Ida. Even Todoroki placed a hand on Ben's shoulder, though Bakugo predictably maintained his distance. The portal won't hold much longer, Gwen called out apologetically. We need to leave soon. Ben nodded, stepping back from his friends. Time to go. He walked toward his family, each step both homeward and away from what had become a second home. At the portal's edge, he turned back one last time. Class 1A stood together, a united front of future heroes who had accepted an interdimensional stranger as one of their own. Behind them loomed UA, the school that had sheltered him, trained him, and helped him grow in unexpected ways. Wait, Ben said suddenly, a decision crystallizing in his mind. He turned to Grandpa Max. "I can't leave yet." "Ben." Grandpa Max's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Tetrax is still out there," Ben explained, determination hardening his voice. "The oscillator is creating random portals. This world is in danger because of something from our dimension. I can't just walk away from that responsibility." "We can handle Tetrax," Kevin argued. "You heard what I said about the trackers." "It's not just about Tetrax," Ben insisted. "I've made commitments here. These people took me in, protected my identity, fought beside me. I owe them more than a quick goodbye when the first escape opportunity appears." Gwen studied him carefully, pink energy still flowing around her hands as she maintained the portal. "You've changed, Ben." "Have I?" "You've grown up," she clarified with a small smile. The old Ben would have jumped at the chance to go home, adventure completed. Grandpa Max placed both hands on Ben's shoulders. "Are you sure about this? We don't know when we'll be able to create another stable portal." Ben nodded firmly. "I'm sure. I need to finish what started here." After a moment, Grandpa Max nodded his understanding. "You've always had strong instincts about where you're needed most. I trust your judgment. Besides," Kevin added with a smirk, "now that we've found you once, we can find you again. Anytime you're ready to come home, just use clockwork near a dimensional weak point. We'll be monitoring. And take this." Gwen pressed a small crystal into Ben's hand. "A communication charm. It won't let you travel dimensions, but it will let you send messages across them. So we know you're okay." Ben closed his fingers around the crystal, emotion tightening his throat. "Thank you. All of you. Make us proud," Grandpa Max said simply, pulling Ben into a quick hug before stepping back. "We'll be waiting." His family moved toward the portal, pausing at its edge. "Don't get too comfortable in superhero high school," Kevin called out with a grin. "The null void's got plenty of escaped prisoners waiting for us back home." "Wouldn't dream of it," Ben replied with a matching smile. Gwen blew him a kiss, Grandpa Max offered a final wave, and then they were through the portal, which closed behind them with a flash of blue-white light. For a moment, Ben stood alone, staring at the empty space where his path home had been. Then he felt a presence beside him, Midoriya, followed by the others. "You stayed," Midoriya said quietly, disbelief and happiness mingling in his voice. "I stayed," Ben confirmed, turning to face them. "There's still work to do here. And a rematch to have," Bakugo added with a predatory grin. "And entrance exams to prepare for," Ida reminded them practically. "And new combination moves to practice," Uraraka chimed in excitedly. "And a class to return to," Todoroki concluded, the ghost of a smile on his usually impassive face. Ben looked at his teammates, his friends, and felt the rightness of his decision settle into place. He'd found his way home in an unexpected sense. The path back to his original dimension would remain open, but for now, his place was here. "So," he said with a grin, activating the Omnitrix, "who's up for some training? I've got a few new alien forms I've been meaning to test out." As the green light of transformation washed over him, Ben Tennyson, hero of 2 dimensions, prepared for whatever challenges this world had left to offer, secure in the knowledge that whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.